Welcome in, Ack. Sorry about that. Oh, why is my face? Why did my face do that? Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, Ack, as well. Sorry about all that. Give me a second. Let me turn my captions on. So just in case, just in case you can't like hear me, you can read. If you know, you can read. Maybe you can't. I don't know. I don't know your story. Sorry, I'm getting settled. Stop this. I cleaned up a little bit, and by a little bit, I literally mean like a little bit. Like behind my desk and like off my desk a little bit. It was a lot, like, even though it was a little bit, it was a lot. But, you didn't come here for that, you came here for Derek. You came here for Derek. Okay, everything should be set up good. Okay, so if you were not here, if you do not remember what happened last time, I don't know, can you hear? Give me a second, can you hear the game? Yeah, you can. Okay, so if you don't remember, last time, Derek, we grew up. We grew up, and Derek was like, hey, we made that marriage pact when we were like 13, 12, and we're like 24 now. I think we're too young to get married. And I was like, you know what, fine, divorce. But I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it in my soul. And now it's Father's Day, and we're here with his little brothers. And basically that's it. So yeah, let's get back into it. Hopefully we can finish this today. By the intrigued rise of his brows, you get the impression you'd be in that spot for a while. So, how did school go last year? Do you have a favorite class you were taking before summer? Have you gotten into skateboarding? I was wondering, how are you doing lately? You say quiet. You know what? How are you doing lately? He hummed casually. You know what I don't have? I don't have anything to drink. I don't know if that's a good idea right now, because I'm not feeling that good. But it might be a good idea to have something to drink, because my throat's going to get dry. I know it is. I know it is. Also, let me do something real quick. There we go. Not bad. I'm glad. Nicholas let out a long, contented breath. He was fully at ease with the world. It is well that you're literally just here and talking to me. He was so much like Derek, even when he wasn't intending to be. Well, it's true, I'm really here. I still struggle to believe you're this big. Honestly, it feels weird talking to you normally instead of like a child. I hope that's unbelievable in a good way, you chuckled. I'm still struggling to believe you're this big. A smirk grew wide on his face as he put the first shoe down and picked up another, though he ultimately returned that one to the display again as well. Nicholas gestured with his hand for you to come as he turned away more. He walked back to the center of the tiny space. From there it was easy for his older brothers to spot him. Derek and Jorge waded through the merchandise, pressing in from all sides, almost knocking a few things over on the way. It was a rough place to be for a couple of large adult men. But they didn't have to worry about that for long. I'm done with this, he announced with a shrug. Nico hadn't got anything, he only wanted to satisfy his curiosity. Okay, we've had some good stops, but it's getting late. We've got to go home now. See, I remember his voice is deep. Nicholas genially accepted the end of the trip. Good thing we didn't do my thing, because we would have been here a whole nother step, and I don't feel like I have time for that, really. Fine. Thanks for bringing us to this old place. A warmth came to his voice as he concluded his statement. I haven't been to a mall. Actually, that's not true. I went to a mall in, where was it, September? It was Las Vegas. It was like this hotel mall thing. Hated it. It smelled so bad in there. It's cool that we get to hang out together. The sweetness brought a huge grin to Derek's face. He placed a hand on Nicholas's head, as he'd done for many years. I'm glad we did this too. Nicholas beamed at those words. The only thing better than having fun with his family was knowing that his family was having fun with him as well. In high spirits, he slipped out from under Derek's hold and drew an arm over Jorge's shoulder. The middle brother linked his own hand around Nico. The affection between all three had only grown stronger as the years had gone by. Everyone ambled towards the exit, feeling fulfilled. As you approached the door, Jorge began to speak. Did anyone else notice Derek and Kingsley won the bet? Well, half the stories he mentioned were real and there. Yeah, that's right. Nicholas stuck out a peace sign and cheered victoriously, despite having not won himself. Something even better had happened. Obviously, if Derek wasn't right about all the stories he talked about, then he'd be right about how many stories he'd been right about. Derek shook his head with a laugh at the exaggerated description from his biggest fan. Thanks for believing in me. Always, bro. This is so cute. Siblings. I miss my brother. I should talk to him. Last time we talked, it was like maybe a week or two ago. Derek's right all the time. Yes, we're the best. He just, hey, it wasn't just him. I guess that too. Last time I spoke to him, he talked about the new Pokemon trading card game on the phone. He was like, we should play it. And I'm like, nah. And he was like, you should stream it. I'm like, nah. It's just, I feel like it's a lot. It's a lot. I did Pokemon Sleep for a little bit, and it was like, that was a lot. And I stopped playing. I like my Pokemon games not mobile. I do have Pokemon Go, I think, but I haven't played it in Fiverr. That's true. Nice work, Kingsley. Thank you. All the loose threads had been tied up, and you left them all behind. But I should talk to him on like a more personal, deeper level. He's just always busy, and I never know when he's not busy. You got back into the shotgun seat and strapped in for a drive back to the Suarez home. When everyone was set, you were on your way. It was a peaceful ride, mostly quiet. After the long excursion out, a rest was in order. Wait, what about our treats? Did we eat that already, or have they been sitting in the Todd-ass car? I forgot, we also went to the bakery. But it only lasted for the first leg of the trip. Eventually, the soothing rumble of the car was harmonized with the gentle sounds of Nicholas humming joyfully to himself. And only a second later, that was followed by a heart-wrenching gasp. The eldest brother instantly stiffened in his seat. What's up, Nicholas? My eclair! It's disgusting! The eclair? He ran that piece of information through his mind. The facts of the situation clinked into place. It melted. Yeah, it melted. Now he can't eat it because now he's gonna get food poison. It is summer. I was like, he could eat that and then not go to school the next day. But no. No. It's summertime. It's summertime. Nicholas whined at the tragedy of it all. Derek was right again, and he let out a nervous chuckle. We have to go back? What did you think would happen? It's cream-filled dessert that's been sitting for hours in a locked car during summer. Ooh, and it's summertime. It'd be different if it was like winter. It'd be different if it was winter. Let's see how deep you can make his voice. I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. I didn't think anything. It just happened. Wait, did I get something too? What did I get? Was it a cookie? I don't remember what I got. I figured you were gonna eat it on the way to the mall. I forgot about it. There were plenty of questions. Also, welcome in, Darius. How are you doing today? There were plenty of questions and comments coming from both his brothers, but there was little Nicholas could say in defense. He twisted in your seat to check on the youngest. The sight was pitiful. He was slouched in his seat, gazing down into his box, full of regrets. I mean, an eclair would not be something that I would get. Now, eclairs, they look tasty, but I don't think I like cream-filled, like, donuts and, like, pastries. It just feels like too much. It feels like too much. I don't like my pastries to have holes in them unless they're donuts, and my holes should not be filled. They shouldn't. The suffering couldn't be ignored. Jorge was compelled to offer a solution to protect Nico from the consequences of his actions. You can have mine, it's still fine. It's a little soft, but warm muffins are good. Not warmed by the sun, Jorge. He's trying to kill you. Nicholas, he's trying to kill you. Nicholas tucked his knees up and gripped the box more tightly. A new dessert sadly couldn't undo what had been done. I don't want that. I ruined mine. It's inedible. The solemnness brewing in the backseat was cracked by a bold declaration from the front row. From the very front. That's the very front, right? Not the front row. I doubt that. Pass it over. Derek, do not... You know what? That's on you, Derek. That's on you. That snapped Nicholas to attention. He was boggled by his brother. It wasn't hard to imagine why. Derek didn't enjoy treats on a normal day, and that one in particular was a sorry state. Derek doesn't enjoy treats? Who doesn't enjoy a little treat from here and there, you know? Derek, I don't know if this relationship can work out, because I love me a little treat. I love me a little treat, and someone who doesn't love a little treat, I don't think it can work out. Because when I say, hey, let's go get a little treat, you gotta be like, okay, you gotta get a little treat with me. I can't be the only one eating little treats. That's not how this works out. You know what? I think I'm okay if me and Derek don't work out. Like, he's sweet, but like, he's a 10, but he doesn't enjoy little treats. No. But it was even easier to guess the reason all that didn't matter. Derek could stomach anything for his baby brother. He continued to coax Nicholas. How demanding? It's not demanding. It's just, these are the things that I enjoy, and it's like, I want to partake in these things with someone. I want them to enjoy the things that I enjoy, and I want to enjoy the things that they enjoy. Like, little treats, they are like what I survive off of. When I'm sad, I don't think about little treats. Actually, I do kind of, but like, and not in the same way when I'm like happy. It's a different feeling when it's a little treat when I'm sad. I'm getting that dopamine rush when I'm like little treat, and it's not like a physical. It's not a physical little treat. It's a microtransaction little treat. I have a problem. I had a very bad problem. Now it's just a tiny problem. I'm getting better. I was always gonna try to get some of your dessert. That's the reason I didn't get my own. If you're not gonna have any, that makes it even better for my plans. Nicholas wasn't a 6-year-old anymore. He knew a placating stunt when he saw one. He at Derek in pouty resistance, trying to brush the whole attempt off. It's not enough to enjoy you enjoying. No, it's not enough. You gotta participate. You gotta participate with me. Like, me and Gil went to go get a little treat last night, and I got donuts. And he ate one of my donuts. I don't know why he ate one of my donuts, but he ate one of my donuts. He doesn't even like donuts like that, but he had one, and I'm like, okay. It made me feel better about eating donuts. Yet Derek had grown in that time as well. He hadn't lost his knack at tending to his baby brothers, even if it only took more effort. He pretended to be oblivious to the rejection. Kingsley, could you get me the box? Girl, no. I'm sitting here, nicely, looking out the window, longingly. I'm not gonna reach back there and get a box. Get Jorge to get it to you. There was a groan and a slight shuffling around. Nicholas had shoved the box through the opening between the driver's seat and shotgun. Just like the guessing game, he wasn't gonna win this. Okay. You took the... I can't with this name. You took the Zake box from Nicholas and brought it up to the front. The lid was already open and you got a peek at the eclair puddle. Ew. It was only about half as tall as it had been originally. The structure of the filled treat had collapsed in on itself. The paper doily underneath was entirely coated in liquefied chocolate frosting and pastry cream. Hold the eclair out towards Derek. There you go. Your fingers sunk. Ew. Your fingers sunk into the sides of the overheated pastry with no resistance. They were immediately covered in sticky ooze bleeding out from the inside. There was no way to do what you wanted to do without getting messy, but it was the path you chosen. And speaking of little treats, I know, I'm going on one. But the other day, I didn't want a little treat, but Gil wanted a little treat. And you know what I did? I sucked it up and I got a little treat with him. I did. And that's on what? Partnership. That's on partnership. I feel like I had to say that. Okay, back to the game. There was no way to do what you wanted to do without getting messy, but it was the path you chosen. You made your best attempt to avoid having the car suffer the same fate as your hands as you inched the eclair towards Derek's head. You know what? I guess it's better to get on me than the car because it's easier to clean myself than the car. It's a lot of work to get a car detailed. I still want my car detailed, but it's never going to get detailed. I don't have the money for that. Oh, he did the wheel for me. Cool. The unexpected confection floating in Derek's peripheral caught him entirely off guard. He gripped the wheel harder with enthralled whispers could be heard from the two audience members. You were sure he might have had said something to say at your stunt, but he kept himself composed and casual. He was driving and his little brothers were watching. What stunt? All I did was just make it exactly. I made it easier for you. What are you talking about, Derek? Not me finding out we're incompatible now that we're adults. You know what? Things have changed. Things have changed. We weren't really compatible in the first place. I hate sports. But I would have pretended for you, Derek. Thanks, Kingsley. That makes it easier. His eyes stayed on the road, and he turned his head over ever so slightly to reach the treat. He didn't waste any time taking as large a bite as he could manage, and now he's gonna have the shits. He's gonna have diarrhea. He's gonna get dysentery. And this is on you. This is on you, Derek. I will nurse you back to health, but only because we're friends. Nothing more, nothing less. He barely seemed to chew it before he swallowed. It isn't bad. Not too sweet. I'm honestly impressed. Xavier is a damn good baker. He gave the box back to Nicholas. You asked to try. Derek made it seem tempting. Girl, I'm not eating that. You asked to eat some for Nico's sake. You took a bite of your own. Derek made it seem tempting. You did your part for Nico and ate a part of it. and ate a part of it yourself. I'm gonna give this back to Nicholas. That's a him problem right there. We're like, what, 24? Nicholas is like, what, 16? I do not need to pretend for him. He can see through this facade. The eclair was placed back down, and he returned what remained of the dessert to its original owner. He poked at the remnants inside, and after all that, he couldn't help himself and scooped some of the mushy mess out and gave it an exploratory taste. Nico grimaced as soon as it hit his tongue and let out a heavy sigh when he swallowed it down. It's pretty gross. As true as that was, there was a breathy chuckle threaded into his words. Not so long ago, he'd been as droopy as the eclair itself. Now he was starting to perk up. Wow, turning on Derek is a new low. Listen, we've both grown as people. He's shown me who he is, and I can say that I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the aesthetic that he's trying to have. This healthy lifestyle, that's for him. But I want a little treat all the time. Well, not all the time. Sometimes I don't. But if I'm getting a little treat, you gotta get a little treat too. And I love that he did this for his brother. But he's not gonna enjoy it. He's not enjoying it. He's gotta enjoy it. There was one person left who didn't take part in the event. He stayed quiet no longer. Can I try it too? I didn't take part in this event. I just passed the boxes along. Totally, it's all yours. The box was unceremoniously dumped onto Jorge's legs. He awkwardly grabbed it to keep it from falling onto the floor. Jorge gave a snort. Thanks. Hello, Jorge. Don't mention it. There was still plenty to go. Derek got a third of it down, but Nico's contribution was much more minor, and it was quite lengthy. It was a quite lengthy type of confection. Jorge wasn't going to drag things out, however. He managed to squash all that remained into a single bite. His face became coated in the goopy mix of frosting and cream and dissolving puff pastry. That was the only trace that survived after Jorge's eclair massacre. Nicholas's laughter burst out harder and louder than before. He was both amazed and horrified. When I said it's yours, that didn't mean you had to eat the whole thing like that. Cookie, welcome in. How are you doing? Thanks to the team effort, none of the eclair went to waste. No soggy clouds remained over anyone's head. You went to eat your own treat too. You decided not to eat your treat after that. Girl, I don't even remember what I had. Oh, I had cake? That's bad. That cake's bad. I'm about to offer them this vanilla cake. You're going to Christmas Town on Friday and Saturday? Oh, I've never been to Christmas Town. Is it nice? Is it nice? I love Christmas, but like not for the reasons most people probably think. Like, yeah, when I was younger, it was for the gifts and all that, but I like Christmas because I like the lights. The lights are so pretty. I know light pollution's bad, but like, they do something for me. They make my brain go burr. They make it sound so messy and something that I would definitely not allow in my car. You know what? Exactly. Like, some things you just should not eat in the car. And I completely agree with you, Darius. Christmas Town is very good. Okay. Let me know, have you been to Christmas Town before? What's it like? And if you haven't, let me know how it goes. And you're going Friday and Saturday? What? It's a 2-day event? Is it a big place? It's just as melted as the eclair, so it makes for a fitting follow-up. No. Y'all not gonna have my vanilla cake? The trip home came with good moods all around, and soon you'd reach your destination. Nicholas and Jorge jumped out of the car right away. Derek took a second to gather up the gift he'd gotten for his father. He made sure you got all your stuff too before following after the boys. You like to eat French toast sticks with extra syrup in the car? Do you? Why? I don't like French toast and I don't like syrup. So it's just like a combination for me. I'd never allow it in my car. Christmas has Santa, Rudolph, and the elves, Ice Show, Sesame Show, and Magic Show. Like, Sesame Street characters are there at Christmas Town? What they doing at Christmas Town? Shouldn't they be in New York? Is Christmas Town in New York? Interesting. But which elf? Do they have, my boy? What's his name? I forgot his name already. It's not Quincy. I feel like it starts with a C. It might not. I forgot his name, but it was the blonde elf. He was like the main character of one of the Rudolph movies. He was my favorite. He was my favorite character ever, and I cannot remember his name to save my life. It sounds like fun. It does sound like fun. I kind of want to go see Santa. I want to go to New York to the Macy's and give a letter to Santa, and I've always wanted to do that. Like, I don't believe in Santa Claus, but I just love the idea of doing that. It just seems so fun. So I've always wanted to go to New York during like Christmas time, and I'll never get to do that. I mean, I probably will someday, but not anytime soon. We have Sesame Street show called Elmo's Christmas Wish. Is it the real Elmo there? Probably not. Probably not. Santa's okay. I mean, Satan's real, but Santa, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Santa used to be real. Santa used to be real, but Santa's dead now, so. Nicholas let you right in with his house key. As he swung the door open, he announced the group's arrival with grand cheer. We're back! Welcome home! His mother and father returned the call with a familiar greeting of their own. Oh my gosh, please tell me. Because I remember when we were doing, what's his name? Cove? I was supposed to call him Cole. We were doing Cove's story. And we have my parents' anniversary, and I do not want to do that shit again. I don't. This DLC is probably going to take 5 fucking years. And like, I love this. If I was playing this on my own, I'd be like, you know what, yeah, I fucks with this. Like, the repeatability of stuff. Like, certain scenes, you'll get different things. But I don't know. I don't do good with repetition. Like, I do, but I don't at the same time. It has Elmo, Cookie Monster, Rosita, Grover, and Zoe. I used to love Zoe. Zoe was my girl. Zoe was my girl when I was younger. They've been taking it easy on the couch with the TV, but it was promptly shut off with a click of the remote. Their children were entertainment enough. You, Derek, and Jorge stood around in front of the living room. Suarez child number 3 skipped ahead, going all the way around the back of the couch. Nicholas draped himself over his dad's shoulders and snuggled up to him from behind. Happy Father's Day. Mr. Suarez reached up to clasp Nico's arms warmly. Thank you, my wonderful son. The well wishes were echoed by the older 2 brothers in unison. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Thank you all as well. Happy Father's Day, Mr. Suarez. Happy Daddy Day. Oh my god, no. Happy Father's Day. Hello. Thanks for letting me come. You wave sweetly. Happy Father's Day, Mr. Suarez. Sorry about that. I had to cough. It felt totally natural to join in on the merrymaking yourself. The content smile on Mr. Suarez's face confirmed that. Happy Daddy Day is crazy, honestly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, twins. Not you and Darius being twins, Zach. Thank you very much. The man of the hour struggled to get off the cushion with a heavy cape still hanging over him. But lifting Nicholas along with him, Mr. Suarez managed to get to his feet. In order to keep clinging to his parents, Nicholas had to stretch his chest over the seats of the couch and lean over on his tiptoes. That was all well and good with Mr. Suarez. He opened his arms wide to invite even more hangers to join in. The incredibly convenient positioning was no hold for his children. Give me a second. My nose is stuffed. Damn. Okay, thank you. I swear I pressed it. I swear I pressed it to unmute myself. Man, maybe I should stop pressing that button. I feel like it worked, and now it's just being mean to me. Thank you for letting me know I was muted. Their mom sat tight and even managed to squeeze in one hand to rub her husband's lower back. All the love in the world being poured over Mr. Suarez had him flushed with pride. He spoke to his lovely family with as much affection for them as they had for him. I'm so grateful to have you all here. Glad to be here. Yeah, glad to be here. Nico chirped, a self-aware mimic of his big brother. What they said. Me fourth. What they said times two. Glad to be here, you grin. Me fourth. That comment made the cherry on the silly Sunday. The brothers snickered along with you. The bonding moment came to a sudden and abrupt end as Nicholas' grip finally slipped from his dad's neck. He collapsed like a broken bridge and swung face forward into the backrest of the couch with a puffing gasp. His long hair spilled over everywhere. Oops, are you fine, Nicholas? Mr. Suarez craned his neck over his shoulder to peer down at where his youngest child landed. Still flat against the pillow, Nicholas stuck a thumb into the air. Especially from a nearly grown adult that isn't yours. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you probably have, but you know that like that daddy chill? Was that a vibe or was it just like a TikTok or a video? But that's what that reminded me of. I don't know why, I just did. That drew out snickers from the whole crowd, but it was mutually agreed that giving each other some space was for the best. The Suarez men shimmied one after another past the furniture into the dining area. The last one in the pack was Nicholas, who finally pulled himself upright. The missus of the family left the couch behind as well. It was a full migration to open area of the living room. The flow of conversation continued from there. How's your day been? Sorry, that was supposed to be deep. You think that was an early TikTok, but yeah, equally as cringe. I don't know, the daddy chill was funny as fuck. I was not cringing, that was funny as fuck. Derek clapped a hand on his father's shoulder. What were you up to while we were out? With great excitement, Mr. Suarez answered the question. I took a nap. Sounds like a dad. Such a dad thing to do. Take a nap? That's cool, Dad. It is. I hope the four of you had a pleasant afternoon as well. We had fun. It was a wonderful time of both old and new locales. Jorge and Derek both nodded, not needing to add more than that. You love napping? Well, aren't you like a dad? Dads love a good nap. They do. My dad used to do that. My dad, he naps in the movie theaters whenever I don't know what movie. I think it was like The Circle. It had like Emma, no, what's her name? The Emma that was Hermione, and that one guy from the Star Wars movies. And I think it was like The Circle, and I think Tom Hanks was in it. My dad fell asleep while watching that movie while we watched it in the theaters, and he fell asleep while watching that movie. My dad will take himself a nap if that movie is boring as fuck. He does not care. He does not care. Good to hear. And I like, you know that say like dads, like they'll sleep with their eyes open, they'll pretend they're not napping and they'll say they're just resting their eyes. My dad used to do that all the time. It's so funny because like, why are you lying? Why are you lying? Just go to bed. Just go lay down. Go take an actual nap. It's fine. You can't nap in public. You snore. You know what? And that's okay. That's okay. Do you have sleep apnea? You may. You may have sleep apnea. You might need a CPAP machine. Gil woke me up one day. I was sleeping real good and he woke me up because I was snoring too loud. And like, I realized I snore. I didn't used to snore, but I snore now. Now I've gained like weight. I need to lose weight so I stopped snoring. It's the weight that's doing it for me. But like, it was so fucking rude. Cause like when he snores, I don't wake him up, but he's so fucking rude. I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? It's not that loud, but loud enough to know I'm asleep. And that's okay. And that's okay. As long as you're sleeping good, but you honestly, you may have sleep apnea. Hopefully you're breathing while you're asleep. More current experiences were shared. Funny anecdotes were told. Stories seen lately were recounted. It was a low-key celebration. All that was needed to make the day was spending time all together. With a clear clap of her hands, Mrs. Suarez called the group to attention. Her eyes were squinted from her smile-raised cheeks. Before it gets any later, how about we give Dad his gifts? Mr. Suarez had been patient. He waited for someone else to bring up the topic. Now that his wife had, the dam holding back swirling excitement rushed open. I'd like my gifts now. Let's do it. I'll be right back. I hid my gift in Nico's room. Oh, sure, we can wait. But not long. What do you mean not long? It's literally in the house. That was tacked on to Derek's statement good-humoredly, though not entirely as a joke. I got it. Jorge flippantly gestured a hand over his shoulder, dismissing his dad's impatience, but the speed he walked at was brisker than a normal indoor pace. Derek's hand automatically came to rest over his pocket. He patted the box safely tucked inside. The sight spurred into double-checking your own stuff. All was well and ready to go. Why Jorge had to stick the gift inside someone else's bedroom became all too obvious when he re-entered the hall. A bouquet of beautiful flowers was spilling over the arms cradled around it, all wrapped up in a pretty bow. Oh. It was a fitting choice, as thrilled smile bloomed on the recipient's face. The middle son clutched the bouquet closer to his chest. A few petals brushed against his cheek. Sorry, I couldn't get this into a bag, but here it is. Everyone knows what I got. And it is beautiful. Thank you, Junior. Right, it's cool you deserve to go first for a change. I could live being second. Okay. If Jorge had been worried about stepping on anyone's toes, those fears would have been completely assuaged. How do you say that word? How do you say this word? I need to know. I'll have to look this up. If you could open up. ASSUAGET. Pronunciation.
Assuage.
Okay, I was right? Assuaged. I said assuaged, but like I was close. A sausage? Not even. Completely assuaged, but that wasn't his concern. As Derek chuckled, Jorge shook his head. Jax, I literally let you out right before stream. You can't do this to me. You can't. You went out, you peed, you pooped, and I gave you a little treat when you came back in. Do you want to be held? Do you want to be held? He doesn't want to be held, but he wants pets. For a change, Derek, you let me go before you more than often than you go first. You let me go before you more than often than you go okay, that's a sentence. Derek had another answer ready without missing a beat, and he laughed even more. They were keeping up the tradition. And this is for you, Dad. Derek brought out a sleek package and held it out for the taking. Mr. Suarez plucked it up gladly. He tucked the bouquet under one elbow while... Don't go over there. I know what you're doing. You're not getting another treat. Mr. Suarez plucked it up gladly. He tucked the bouquet under one elbow while pulling off the top of his new present. Sir. What is this? What is this on the side of your face? A tie! I will use this often. Thank you, Derek. Not his son getting him a tie. Did your dad ask for this tie? I feel like Father's Day is super lame. Cause like, I remember Father's Day when I was younger, and we used to get my dad like ties and slippers and robes. And my dad, he does love him a good slipper, but he has enough ties, you know? He deserves another treat. He doesn't deserve another treat. He'll get one later. His bowl is full. He will get another treat later. It's not the time. It's not the time, sir. It's not. I see you. I do. I love you. Why are you shaking? Come here. Why are you slapping me? You're sitting in my lap. This is where you're gonna be now. Welcome. You're welcome, Dad. Mrs. Suarez rubbed Derek's back, watching her husband admire the accessory. That will look great on the new shirt I got him. But yeah, I was talking about Father's Day. Father's Day kind of sucks. I think I've gotten my dad some things that he wants because my dad loves to grill. So I think I got him 2 Father's Days ago. I got him like a grill set, not like an actual grill, but like, you know, cooking utensils. And then this year I got him, I think I either got him gloves, like the cooking mittens, cooking mittens for grilling, or I got him an apron that he wanted a cooking apron. I think that's what I got him. I don't know what I'll get him next Father's Day. I'll think of something. I ask him in advance. I asked my dad what he wants for Father's Day and his birthday, because I feel like it's lame. Like, I'm showing you appreciation, but like, do stuff that you really don't want, you know? It's kind of shitty. This is a malarkey. He should get another. No, he's sitting in my lap, being bad. She winked knowingly and headed off the questions what the statement might bring. I let him open that one earlier so he didn't have to wait all day before presents happened. You're getting your dad an Elmer Fudd hat? Why? Does he like Elmer Fudd? No wonder he'd been so well behaved. He'd been preemptively mollified. Mr. Suarez whistled innocently, shuffling around the tie in the box. Thank you again, my loving wife. I need to get you like your own seat, Jax. He has his bed out here, but like, we're so both very uncomfortable right now. What if I put you here? What if I put you here? Put your paws up here. Don't press nothing though. I have to use the keyboard now. He's a hunter? Oh, okay. Like for sport? Or like professionally? My dad and I used to trade fishing lures every Father's Day. Fishing lures? That's interesting. Where do you buy that at? Like a fish shop? Do they have fish shops besides like Pro Bass or whatever? So he hunts for like sport and for profession? What is he hunting? He was fully basking in revelry. Meanwhile, his supportive partner took the initiative to bring out a vase for Jorge's flowers. They look even better fully spread out in the glass. My turn. Hooray! Chuckling at his childlike joy, you didn't keep him in suspense and lifted up a gift bag from earlier that day. He eagerly accepted it from your hand. The bag was scanned and then pulled open. You had gotten a pricier option for a Father's Day gift. It might have been too much, but you didn't have to worry much thanks to the pleased smile that remained on Mr. Suarez's face. Delectable. And there was another person in the room who responded with encouragement. Jax, okay. If this is what you want to do. Jarek snuck you a thumbs up when no one was looking at him. You're very welcome. Glad you like it. As usual, the last person to take the stage was Nicholas, with a wide sweeping of his arms. What a great gift that is, Nicholas. Jax, don't do it. Don't do it. There you go. You can put your... There you go, Jax. He's about to fuck my shit up. And it was wonderful indeed. It was no joke. Mr. Suarez looked upon Nico warmly. The temptation to baby the baby of the family was too strong. From the sidelines, the 3 other members of the family exchanged shrugs and weary smiles. And wry smiles, not weary, sorry. After the highest point of the excitement with the gift-giving, the casual get-together wound down even more. You, the trio of Suarez brothers, and their father were all settled around the dinner table, shooting the breeze. Mrs. Suarez had reclaimed her comfortable spot on the couch. There was a book in her hands. Oh, what's she reading? What's she reading? Her second gift of the day was letting Mr. Suarez keep all the attention of the children. He spoke animatedly about his life and his work. That line of topic in particular got him going. Goosebumps? What are you saying goosebumps to? Your father hunts goosebumps? Like the creatures in the Goosebumps books? They're real? Oh, that's what she's reading. I genuinely was like, what? I I thought she was maybe reading like those books the old people read, where they have like Fabio on the cover of them. My grandma has a shit ton of those books. I don't know what it is about Fabio, but he be killing it. He has a market, and it is old women. I mean, he's not a bad looking man. Goosebumps is the books old people read. I mean, I feel like Goosebumps are books that everyone reads. Everyone loves Goosebumps. It was explained that himself. It was explained that himself and Mr. Holden had been invited to a business owner networking luncheon happening the next day. You really love being. Jack just loves being in the way. You see, Mr. Holden had a dislike for such events. In our years as partners, it had gone without saying that I'm the one who attends. Although, Mr. Suarez gave a toothy grin. He was up to something. There's another option this time. I could have my responsible son attend as my representative. Huh? He could only stare in wide-eyed amazement. It suddenly felt like it was Derek's birthday rather than Father's Day. You could still remember when Derek helping his dad with his business as an equal was just far-off imagination, a fanciful thought for someday, and now you were present when it became a reality. Mom used to be a Jet magazine hoarder. Oops, sorry, Jax, didn't mean to scare you. I have never heard of Jet magazine. What is Jet magazine? Is that like the ones that, like Sky Mall? The Sky Mall magazines? Is it like that? Jax, okay. It had sent Derek into clouds temporarily, but it wasn't a dream or a joke. It was an actual situation he was present in. Derek gathered his thoughts and gave it a grounded response. Sorry, I can't. I've got plans tomorrow. That's understandable. Derek Suarez is in demand by all who know him. Not by everyone. Derek snickered shyly, and it seemed the exchange was already reaching its conclusion. You know what that superseding plan of Derek was? Going to the water park with you. Oh shit. Forgot we had to go to the water park. You were so looking forward to it. He had passed on helping his dad to hang out with you. It made you happy. You weren't sure what to think about the situation. You got Derek's attention to talk. You know what, brother? If you want to go help out your dad, you can totally do that. The topic had come to involve you, even if it had been directed only at Derek. You turned towards the table directly. Oh my gosh, words. Psst, Derek, come here. While Derek's eyes went to you, so did the gaze of his brother and father. They all noticed your attempt to be subtle. It couldn't be helped, and you'd already committed. Hippisappy, welcome in. How are you doing today? You held Derek stare for a moment, then stepped away from the entire crowd. 1 second, Dad. Take your time. The only free area in the living room was the opening of the side hall. You positioned yourself at the cusp of the narrowed space. You could hear Derek's light jaw coming from behind. He shifted himself in between you and the wall to face you. His voice was hushed and his expression concerned. You're doing quite dandy as always. How am I? I'm struggling to breathe. I have this dog on my lap, purposely putting his head in the way of me trying to do tasks and reading. But other than that, I feel pretty okay. For lack of better phrasing, a Black People's Magazine, news, culture, entertainment. You know what? Like Ebony magazine, I got you. We had a few copies of Ebony. Cool, yeah, I'm trying to breathe. I don't know if you can hear me struggling over here. My inhaler's in another room. Is everything alright? Yes, but actually, I heard what you were talking about with your dad. The thing keeping you busy is going to be the water park with me. The minor eavesdropping gave Derek no pause. He merely tilted his head with pure and honest confusion. Yeah, of course, it's going to be awesome. Jax, I need you to be still. What are you doing? Precious little baby. Precious little baby. You got this. You're doing amazing. If I just stop breathing on stream, I don't want it to be to this game. Not that I don't like this game, but I want it to be doing a different game. Something different. Do you want down? Are you grumbling? I felt that. I felt that grumble. I'm putting you down. There you go. On your bed. No, doggy. I love you. He's not looking at me now. I'm not allowed to do that on streams against a TOS, despite Jax's help. It was a sister publication to Ebony. Okay. Okay. Listen, I'm trying my best. You know what? I wish Jax could fetch things, but he's terrible at fetch. He's a tug of war kind of dog. And even if we didn't already have those plans, I'm not gonna waste the time we've got doing work. You're leaving so soon, am I? Maybe. Who's to say? Maybe I can stay, Derek. I don't know. Thanks to feel the same way. All right, you said reassured. I don't want to make you miss out on it. I wouldn't be able to waste. It wouldn't be a waste if it's something you want to do. Maybe I could go with you. Honestly, I wouldn't mind going to a business luncheon. We could both do it. You know, understandably, it's all settled. Maybe let's go do business. Maybe let's go do business. You mean that? Ever so slowly, Derek's eyebrows lifted on his forehead. His words were equally drawn out. We could, if you want to. Let's go do business. Screw the water park. Let's business it up. He answered by default, but it was fully processed. Derek's relaxed demeanor returned, and he could talk about it with his usual good humor. My dad wouldn't care, but are you sure a networking luncheon is that high on your list of vacation activities? I'm a business owner myself. Of course, we gotta network. I wasn't before, but it is now. With a charming laugh and grin, Derek embraced the new opportunity you presented with him. Alright, Kingsley, let's network. Together you left the little hidey hole behind and rejoined the party. Derek and you went straight back to the table where you'd left. With a stuffy formal tone, Derek grandly gestured in your direction before addressing Mr. Suarez. Father, my own business partner of sorts, and I had a meeting and decided that we're willing to accept the offer and attend the luncheon as a team. Now hold on. Business partner is a strong word because I'm in business with Cove. You can buy in, but we're not just business partners. I'm going as myself and my business. You can go as yours. Unless, you know, you want me to take over your dad's business. I'll do it. I'll do it. Thank you for the consideration. Oh, wonderful. The funny effect Derek put on did not cause Mr. Torres to greet him or you as a joke. He was earnest in his reply. Thank you, Derek and Kingsley. It is kind of you to help. You're grown into such talented and successful people. I can't keep up at this point. After years of hard work, Derek had earned so much praise from his dad, yet he didn't accept it with beaming pride or even downplay it with lighthearted humbleness. He simply rejected it. Hardly. Something had changed. He wasn't a small teenager who could only guess what it meant to be an adult and believed what he was told. Derek had grown. He had lived experiences that words could be compared to. What he felt he'd done did not match with what his father was describing. You know what? I feel that. I feel that all the fucking time. But you had to wonder why. There wasn't anyone you thought was more deserving of the terms talented and successful. No good reason came to mind. Despite Derek never looking more mature, Mr. Suarez smiled comfortingly, like he did when his son was still young. It wasn't a gesture lost on Derek. He once again showed that he was not a child. It was Father's Day, not the moment to worry his dad. He winked, smirked, and managed to smooth over the minor bump. You're still way ahead of me. All that was that, what? And that was the end of that. Christ. Reading. It's fundamental. Later in the evening, a hearty homemade dinner was served at the final event of the occasion, but eventually Jorge stood up from his chair, explaining he needed to start heading home, back to his dorm. Oh, he's in college still? Why did I feel like he wasn't in college? It only made sense for you and Derek to take your own leave too. The permanent occupants of the house, Nicholas, Mr. Suarez, and Mrs. Suarez, thanked everyone for coming. One last set of Father's Day well wishes were given, farewells were exchanged, and then it was time to go your separate ways. As usual, Derek grabbed the door first and held it open for Jorge and you. Excuse me. You thanked him while you went through. His parents and youngest brother stood by the living room the entire time. Derek called over his shoulder with the last note of the day's gathering. Have a hell of a day, everybody. Thanks for letting us be here. Then he followed you and shut the door behind him. As soon as you both climbed into the comfortable seat of Derek's car, he was ready for a new venture. What's the plan now? We've got what's left of the day to ourselves. Well, first, I'm gonna go take my inhaler. That's the plan. And then we can decide what to do later. That's my plan. Jax, I fucking swear to God. Why are you like this? Do you have any water left? I don't think we do. Don't. Okay. We need water. I've got a Gatorade, but water's better for you. Okay. I had to get my yawn in. Yeah, we're back. I'm not sure. You intended to really consider the question, but not a single thought had a chance to fully form before Derek sent disconnected mental threads flying with the shout. Oh, shoot. What's wrong? His head knocked against the back of the seat and he slid lower in defeat. I didn't get the console from Nico. That's what we could have done, obviously. We've already set everything up. Almost everything. Derek offered an apologetic grin. It's not too late to turn around. You don't live that far away. Hey, it's not as if I remembered. That does make it less embarrassing for me. Thanks, Kingsley. You're welcome. He scraped himself up off the chair, choosing to lean over the steering wheel instead. Another day, then. It'd be way too awkward to go back up there and beg Nicholas for a switch. That's something we gotta play smooth. I mean, awkward for you, not awkward for me. If it was my brother, I'd be like, hey, I'm gonna take this. And then I would take it, and I would leave. No matter if I forgot it or not. That's just sibling. That's just sibling behavior. Like, I would swear my brother would do that to me, too. He's done a lot of things. Brother's done a lot of things. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but he hid a chicken in my closet before. I wasn't home, obviously. Like, he did it while I was away, but there was a chicken in my closet. Just unbeknownst to me. Everybody's forgetting their consoles lately. Shut up, Darius. I forget a lot of things. I rush out of my house to not be there. I hate being at my house. I'd rather be at Gil's house. I thought I had everything, but it turns out I didn't. That's the reason why we're not playing Animal Crossing or Pokemon. Because I don't have my Switch. I left it, okay? And we could have played a different game, but the charger is there also. Because I have my other Switch here, but it needs to be charged. And in order for me to stream it, it has to be plugged in. You know, if you have a Switch and you try to plug it in and play it on the TV, on the monitor. You know, you understand. But without it, there's not much to do at the apartment. I mean, we could find something to do, Derek, I'm sure. Words shifted off. His mind was working, and without another interruption, yours was as well. The loudest sound in the cabin of the still car was Derek drumming his fingers against the steering wheel. What did you want to do? That was the question. You had a starting point. It was worth considering not just what to do in general, but what you could do while you were there in that location. That location. Of course. You couldn't be far from the big park your mom sometimes took you to. The same place Derek frequented with his brothers. I've got it. Let's go to the park. Totally. That'd be perfect. And I know exactly how to get there. Buckle in. So what are we going to do at the park? Just sit there? Gonna stare at the sky? Gonna watch the clouds go by? What are we doing? He didn't have to tell you twice. You snapped the seatbelt into place for a ride. Anticipation stirred in the air and the car switched to life. Then Derek pulled out onto the street. The park was even closer than you guessed, because mere minutes after you'd come up with the plan, it had been executed. And luckily, there were a few free spots in the lot. Parking at the park was no trouble. Derek did a hop, skip, and jump out the door. Oh my gosh, Shugachara mentioned? Around the back and bent inside the popped-up trunk. He rummaged around for a minute before slamming it shut. Please don't make me play sports. Please don't make me play sports with you. Watch this man have a soccer ball, a football, a baseball, a basketball. Watch him have all the balls. You joined him outside and spotted immediately what the mini pit stop was for. He locked his car with the clicker in one hand, but tucked under the other arm was a well-worn soccer ball. Everything was ready. I don't want to play sports with you. I don't want to play sports with you, Derek. You and Derek leisurely wandered down the path towards the heart of the park. When you officially arrived at your destination, the sun was barely peeking over the horizon. It wasn't dark quite yet, but shadows were threatening to fully embrace the scene any moment. Scattered clumps of strangers enjoyed the summer evening all around the perfectly trimmed field of grass. Parents with their children, groups of teens, elderly pairs, people of all stages of life were there to share in similar yet entirely unique experiences. Derek stood by your side. You could hear him inhale deeply through his nose. He took in the sight contentedly. You glanced away from the wide expanse in front of you to face Derek. He smiled the moment your eyes met. The ball was shifting from one hand to the other. Want to kick this around? He's gonna trip me. He's gonna trip me, and I'm gonna fall on my face, and I'm gonna be embarrassed. I'm gonna have a bloody nose. He's gonna drive me to the hospital, and then what? And then what? Now I have a hospital bill, Derek. Is this what you want? What? I thought we were gonna take turns sitting on it. Maybe that would have happened if it was Nicholas, but you're at the park with Derek, and he actually uses balls for their intended purpose. You know what? Maybe balls are for sitting. You ever think about that, Derek? You ever sit on some balls? I think I can live with that. Bro loves activities. I mean, sometimes activities are fun, but like, I don't want to kick a soccer ball around. I have poor hand-eye coordination. I have poor hand-to-foot coordination. Poor eye-to-foot coordination. I'm so uncoordinated. It's gonna be so funny. It's gonna be so funny. Cool. The two of you claimed a far corner of the grass for your own purposes. No one was likely to interrupt you or be hit by a misfired ball there. However, I do love kickball. I was a pro at kickball, but I sucked ass at soccer. I don't know what it is about kickball, but that shit was fun as fuck, and I loved playing that in gym class. That was the only game in gym class that I liked playing, was kickball. Every other game sucked ass. Derek let the soccer ball fall to the ground with a slight bounce. He warmed up by juggling it side to side between his legs, popping it up on the top of one foot and letting it drop off again. Working the ball over that way was second nature to him. Derek might not have even intentionally decided to do it. It was purely habit. But then he rolled the ball your way with the top of his shoes. You put more distance between him and before kicking the ball across the field to return it to the center. He caught it effortlessly under his heel. The game was on. There's a game? What's happening? Back and forth, an easy rhythm developed between you and him. There wasn't anyone in the world you could sync with better than Derek. The day grew later, and the park slowly emptied of other people. In the quiet of twilight, the smacking sounds of soccer ball against feet echoed loudly. One catch of Derek's was especially impressive. He stopped the ball without looking, his fawn green eyes squarely on your face. But the longer you played, the more the light his features dimmed. It had been a casual decline. Now that you noticed it, however, it was impossible to ignore now. He quickly passed the ball over to you, and it was going to stop short. You had to draw closer to him to even get it. His complete loss of energy was concerning enough that you paused the exchange. For a moment, you only watched Derek stand there, shoulders slumped and expression defeated. He really wanted to go to this water park, didn't he? It's not too late to call your dad. It's not. I'm sure he'd understand. You felt grateful for the excuse to be nearer to him, given by the slow kick because he spoke distantly to himself. It would have been impossible to hear from the full length that used to be between you, and you still had to strain your ears to not miss his words. I can't believe how long it's been. I'm here with you in my old park. So much is like it was before, but it's not the same. Why can't I feel the way I used to about it? Oh? About what? About what? What is it? What do you mean by it? You mentioned a similar sentiment at the mall when you visited Sunset Bird too. Derek pushed it off each time before. That thought had continued to eat away at him despite how much he'd avoided confronting it. Derek, what happened? I knew something bothered you. Why did you come back to the city? Why did you believe your dad when he said you were successful? You know you can talk to me about anything, right? Waited for him to say more. You know you can talk to me about anything. Anything at all. Because you was right, that's why. Right about what? What were you right about, Darius? You pointedly sent the soccer ball over again, putting the ball literally and metaphorically in Derek's court. He pressed the ball under his heel and stared at you just as hard. Oh? Why? This is a dangerous scene. Distant lamps flickered on and around the park. The darkness in Derek's features was contrasted even more strongly when lit up from behind. It was much later than you realized it was. He's transformed into a raging heterosexual. Shut up. He is what he wants to be, okay? You know my life story, most of it at least. I wanted to be good at sports, and I tried. Are you not good at sports? in high school and college, I put my all into it. After that, there's not a lot of ways you can go further with it. You can coach or teach or aim to go pro. I had that chance. I could have tried out to make playing an actual career. Really? That was incredible, and it left you entirely stunned. And all the calls you'd had during the entire time you'd been here with him, he never hinted at anything like that. That's right. He owned up to the admission with deeply furrowed brows and self-directed sneer. Maybe I would have made it in the minor leagues, maybe even the majors. Maybe I would have face-planted, but I didn't get far enough to find out because I quit. Okay, why'd you quit? He twisted away from you with a pained shout. Derek struck the soccer ball off towards nowhere with all his strength, babes. Why would you do that? Now you gotta go get that shit. Throw it at a tree or something. That's different. It shot into the distance, vanishing completely in the inky skyline before you ever saw it start to slow. Derek stared at where the old ball from his much younger days had gone, even though it was truly and thoroughly gone. The days or the ball. I gave up and left, and that's it. Why? Why? That's alright, Derek. Have you been okay while you were away? I missed that catch you. No. Well, it's not it for the fetching the ball. Good. No. Why? Because it didn't matter. Why didn't it matter? It feels like it matters now. What's going on? Let's talk it out. Also, what is this? Is this for the incinerator? Why is there a fire sign here? Are we in the Fire Nation? You got an answer, a hollow and distant reply that reminded you not all of the Derek you knew. Not at all of the Derek you knew. His empty hand squeezed into iron ball fists, solid and all too heavy to hold up. I did love sports. I think I did. Sometimes, I'm not sure I can remember. What I do know is that I had something to prove. If I ever stopped, it felt like I'd given up. I'd be a quitter and a failure who couldn't cut it. Well, I'm not saying you're a failure, but you did quit. You are a quitter. That's okay. Sometimes you gotta know when to hold them. You gotta know when to fold them, as that one song goes. Question of the day: are we the Fire Nation? I don't think my army is strong enough to be the Fire Nation. But I do relate heavily to Zuko. I also loved Azula. And, what's her name? Ty Lee? Ty Lee was my favorite character. Ty Lee is the best character. So, maybe. And I could never arrive either. There was always another goal in the distance that I still hadn't reached, so I had to keep going. Ooh, Derek. This sounds like some older sibling stuff that I cannot help you as me being the youngest sibling. So, you know what, maybe if my brother was here, he could help you with this, but I personally, I don't think I can. I can just offer you some words of encouragement, a listening ear, maybe a number to a therapist, but that's about it. I can't give you the experience of an eldest sibling. Derek's eyes were hazy, his chest rose and fell at an unsteady pace. He still hadn't stopped looking at the dark, expecting and getting nothing from it. Downgrading my playing to nothing more than a hobby would have been the same as not playing at all. Wasted effort, wasted potential, what a shame. That's what people would think. I don't think that. There we go. It's what you thought, Derek. It's what you thought. You are not a failure. Just because you quit does not mean you're a failure. It just means that it wasn't the right time, or it wasn't for you. Try some new things. I know it's true. All I did was develop those skills. If I don't use them, then what's the point of trying so hard? The fun? I mean, I do understand what he's saying, though. I feel this. I feel this heavily with a lot of things in my life. For a second time, a long-hidden anger crackled. He had faced you in his fury, but again, Derek let settle back to somberness before continuing to address you. But like I said, what does that mean? Where could that go other than doing it forever? I mean, do sports people do that forever? Don't they retire at like 40 or something? That's not forever. And then I do other stuff like Shaq. Look at Shaq. Shaq's got like 12 businesses now. He doesn't do sports anymore. You can do sports for a little bit and then, you know, become a celebrity, get famous, do like TV shows, commercials, own a business. Shaq's doing it all. Be like Shaq Darius. Darius? Not Darius. Derek. He could coach, exactly. He could coach too, but does he want to coach? Not me confusing you and Derek, Darius. I'm sorry about that. You're not Derek. How did it take me this long to realize something that obvious? I was going to have to do it forever. Well, no. Nothing's forever, Derek. Nothing's forever. It would have been fine if I had actually wanted to spend my whole life and all of my time on perfecting my passing skills, but no, I'm not that smart. Derek, you're so smart. You're so smart, Derek. From the start, it was a means to an end. I'd be good at sports, and then I'd feel worth something, and then I could live my life. Missing time with friends and family, the crazy hours, I had been waiting for when that would finally stop. It never did, it never would unless I stopped it. You can see the results of my hard work and great planning right in front of you. I went home as the guy who couldn't make it. I got my life back, and I don't feel the tiniest bit better. It might be worse than when I was more thick-headed and could tell myself I was really doing something. Being here hasn't turned back the clock. I can't look forward to what life could be when I'm grown up. This feels like a conversation that you really need to have with a therapist who can help you work through these feelings. Because it sounds like you are depressed and burnt out. And I know what that's like. I feel that all the fucking time. I'm just an adult who wasted so much of my life already because I had a chip on my shoulder. And I'm so pissed off. His face fell into his hands. That was where the story of Derek stopped. It feels like he's gassing himself up and downplaying himself at the same time. It happens. Derek, you deserve the world. You resolved to reassure him somehow. You felt terrible he wasn't proud of what he'd done. You chaffed against his over-the-top self-pitying. It was frustrating to hear him speak so badly about himself. Reassure him. Reassure him. It probably won't work, because it don't work on me. But, like, it's nice. It's nice to think back on, like, oh, this person really cared. If there was one person in this world who deserved to hold his head up high, it was Derek Suarez. You still have plenty of time. Life is just getting started. I'm proud of you. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's true. What? You can tell me I'm wrong. It's true. What? What does this mean? I think they meant to say you can't tell me I'm wrong. You've done so much for so many people. That's already worth something. Derek, you demand way too much of yourself. It's okay to just live. It's okay to just live, buddy. It's okay. Carefully, Derek's face lifted. His shoulders remained bowed, though you could see his eyes. Regret is what you saw in them, but you had his attention. You're irreplaceable to your family and to me. No one has your character. No one has your determination. No one considers others more. You're not a quitter or a failure or anything else like that. Well, he is a quitter. But a failure, no. But sometimes, like I said, it's okay to fail at something. You either try again or you realize it's not for you. And that's okay. That's okay. I am hoping. I'm being realistic here. I'm being realistic. It's okay to quit things and it's okay to fail. You either get up, try again, or you get up and realize, okay, maybe that's not for me. And you move on. That's life. There are so many fucking years on this fucking planet to just sit down and be like, you know what? No. I'm done. And I get it. I've been there. I've been there all the time. I'm there a lot. And I have to realize that. And sometimes I can't pull myself out of that. And that's what friends are for. Friends are there to help you pull yourself out of situations like this. So get you some friends. Get you some friends who'll tell you some real shit, but also will do it nicely. There's a time and a place for, well, actually, you are a quitter. I mean, yeah, and it's after this conversation. But I'm saying it now. I'm saying it now. He is a quitter. And that's okay. That's okay. No one has your character. Okay, yeah. I can't let you keep believing being you is a waste. You should enjoy every day you have coming. I'll be here to remind you of that and help make sure it happens. Finally, small smiles began to settle on both of your faces once again. The gloom wasn't insurmountable. Nothing was, when you and Derek were together. You were a team. It was evident in the way he looked at you. Faces of darkness around him left Derek lost, but fears and reservations faded when he had you to lean on. And it was the same for you with him. Man, how am I supposed to say no to that? You're the best person I know. Well, you're overstating, but okay. He stood tall in front of you, with a smile perked on just one side. Not because he couldn't make it whole this time. He was smirking. Okay, I'm about to tell you something that will not be a surprise. His voice sounds better? What do you mean his voice sounds better? Like the voice actor's voice sounds better? It does. It does sound better because it's not me. It's not me trying to do it. My dad did football when he was in high school and college. Hearing stories of that is where my sports aspirations came from. Though I was a little original since I ended up going for a different sport. Derek, wouldn't it be like his father? I've never heard such a thing. I figured. Also, not a surprise was that I sucked at it and I was scrawny and I hated that. Getting better became the main driving force in life. And focusing on that, putting in so much effort there, it kind of made everything else easier. Being the oldest, having responsibilities in my family, having to be reliable, it felt less scary when there was an even bigger goal to hit. Everything else was nothing. I never had to directly confront my feelings of inadequacy and accept myself for what I was, because instead I could say I wouldn't be the way I was forever. I'd become successful. I wish I had that mindset. I don't, but I wish I did. But I put proving myself and being talented over being happy. I missed so many things. I barely let myself see you. Oh? Me. And there was no way I could have started a relationship when I knew I wouldn't have been able to prioritize it as much as I should. You deserve better. Oh? Things were happening. You were there through all those years. I was, wasn't I? I think that's what really hurts. I could have just been happy the whole time. Derek's words disappeared as a whisper in the dark. His eyes closed, and he took a moment of silence to mourn the life he might have known if he had the confidence to go for it sooner. That's a lesson for everyone. You can be happy. You can do things. You can start over right now and make changes. And again, you will fail, but you gotta pick yourself back up, and you gotta go back out there and be like, you know what? Life's hard. I'm gonna do this shit anyway. Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna check me, boo? Exactly, no one. No one. Derek's words disappeared as a whisper in the dark. Oh, we already read that. Sorry, I remember that already. I know it's later than you wanted, but I hope you can be happy now. It's not your fault. You don't need to blame yourself. You never had to prove yourself to me. Well, let's not miss any more chances. I think you're really admirable, Derek. I feel that staying all too well. I do feel that staying all too well. But right now, I don't know what I want to say to him. Let's not miss any more chances. Her voice reached Derek. His eyes fluttered open, unafraid to face what was ahead of him. Yeah, the only way to make this worse would be to spend the next decade wasting time feeling shitty about all the time I missed not enjoying myself. Exactly. Exactly. The irony of that is too painful. You embraced him, you took his hand, you put a hand on his shoulder. You placed a hand on top of his head, you gave him a thumbs up. Take his hand. After everything you felt, Derek could definitely use a gentle squeeze. You wanted to make sure he knew you were there. He held you back as soon as you were around him. I know you'll figure out what's best for you. I don't think you have to give up soccer if you do it for the right reasons. Everything you've done or whatever you will do is good with me. It's good with me, babes. Well, that's reassuring. I'll figure things out, but either way, it's still about the journey, not the destination and all that. Exactly. Exactly. On the happiest note possible, Derek released his hold on you to ruffle his hair. Thanks, Kingsley. It's cool being able to talk to you about these things. I feel so much better. Derek's face was so hopeful and gentle and wonderful. Kingsley, Without thinking, you leaned towards him. Oh? You were naturally drawn in by his beautiful green eyes. Oh? But you tugged forward for nothing. He waved the half-formed statement away like it was a broken string in his face. Never mind. There's something else I've got to kick around more in my head. Bro. Amongst the wash of disappointment, you get a prickling sense of deja vu. He'd made the same move before. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, Derek let out a bellowing groan. The massive release of air looked to physically deflate his body. Derek's torso dropped lower and lower until he could have touched his toes. He was expectedly flexible. I'm gonna have to go get that ball now. Exactly. That's why we should have just thrown it at a tree and not kicked it. Because now you gotta go get the ball from, like, who knows where. You smiled instantly. You smiled? You laughed instantly. I don't know where smile came from. Probably at the revelation and probably at the dramatic soak it had been said with. Just settle for the bromance? I mean, I would settle for the bromance, but I think they don't want me to settle for the bromance. I think they want this. I think they want this. Still bit in half, he stuck his hands against his hip and twisted his head up so you could see him wink. It was a gift. I'm not gonna abandon it here. Who was it a gift from? I forgot about that. Oh well, count me in. Who do you get that gift from? Was it me? I don't remember giving you a soccer ball. We tackle life's problems together. Team Kingsland, Derek forever. At that wholehearted cheer, Derek ran headlong through the brush. You chased after him with leaping steps. You peeked under every picnic table and behind every trash can in the general area before the lone soccer ball was discovered tucked away amongst some flowers. Thankfully, none of the petals were harmed, but by coming to rest in their bed, Derek lifted the ball over his head dramatically as if he was the lead in a video game who got a brand new item to equip. You applauded. The two of you returned to Derek's car from there, the last one still in the lot, and left the park behind victoriously. We left the car behind? What did we leave behind? You shuffle back into the silent apartment with another long day out. When Derek hit the light switch and illuminated the space, he began to chuckle airily. Oh? What were we saying oh for? The first sight that greeted you was counters spilled over with unsorted bags of miscellaneous dry goods. Oh. Forgot we went grocery shopping. They remained right where you'd left them in a rush of that morning, patiently waiting for their turn to be put away. Even though you put some of them there, their existence had entirely faded from your mind. All you'd been imagining when stepping through the door was a free and clear path to your room in the apartment and the cozy bed that was included. Your thoughts were spoken aloud, though not by you. I forgot about these. He scratched the top of his head like he was staring at a blackboard covered in algebra. So he's not good at math. Got it. I was actually really good at algebra. I was. But he cleared away the initial bewilderment with a firm clap of his hands. Derek kept them clasped together while glancing at you. You can go get ready for bed. I'll put them away real quick. I'm gonna feel uneasy trying to sleep if I know this still isn't done. I can help you. It's reasonable. It's reasonable. Yeah, it's reasonable to me. It's so wrong for those poor groceries to be left out in the cold for the whole night. I hate leaving groceries out. Like, the shits be in the way. They be in the fucking way. Sometimes there's not enough room. You gotta make room. And I hate having to make room. Algebra was manageable. Calculus kicked your ass. Yeah, calculus is kind of hard. Not gonna lie. I haven't taken a math class in literal years. I think the last math class I took was for teaching elementary school. And it was kind of fucking hard, actually. Because not only are you doing the math, but you have to figure out, like, why, like, how to explain it to a child, why it's right, and, like, if the child got it wrong, figure out how they got it wrong and what steps you can take to get there, to get them to make it right. And that shit was so fucking hard. Because I'm like, now where the fuck did they get this answer from? And I have to go back and I have to do the problem as if it was them getting to that answer. And they didn't show their work. And I'm like, okay. And then the fucking word problems. I'm like, listen, I want to teach second grade. These word problems are a bit too complicated for a second grader. But yeah, that was like, what, 2021? I want to say? It was either 2021 or 2022. Because I was doing an accelerated courses. Because I got accepted into university and I needed to finish some classes real quick. Professor, no. I was not getting my professor thing. I did not want to teach college. I specifically wanted to teach elementary, second grade and below. That's exactly what I call reasonable. Time to put them to bed. And I thought about it, and then like when I went off to university, I worked at a daycare, and when I tell you that was so fucking stressful, but I loved it. I loved it, but then I had a mental breakdown, so I had to quit my job and come back home, which is like an hour away, like an hour and a half away from where I worked. So yeah. And I don't think I'm ready to go back to college and like try to get my certification to work in daycares again, or to get a college degree to work in elementary schools. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Maybe when I'm 30, I'll be ready. But I don't feel mentally ready for that yet. Like, I've even thought about having children. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not mature enough to raise a child yet. Because I do want a child, but I'm like, yeah, no, I'm still a bit too conceited and selfish to raise a child as I would love to raise a child. I'm not there financially and mentally. I have so many stories about daycare. I do. I worked there for like a month, and it was ooh. His brows pinched with a twinge of regret that his problem was becoming yours. However, you didn't need to explain again how that was what you wanted. Derek swallowed the instinct to insist you go rest or apologize, and grinned instead. Thanks. Let's do it, team. Time was called, and you got to work on the final tasks before rest could come. There was more of a system of cupboards than there was with the fridge and freezer. You fished goods out of the bags and passed them to Derek, and he placed them on the shelf where they belonged. As he rearranged his serviceable spice set to make room for more goods, Derek explained his thought process. He preferred having breakfast stuff in one cupboard at the far end of the kitchen, seasonings and baked goods together in another, the shelf closest to the stovetop, and everything else in the middle. You know what? That makes sense. When you got in the layout, you switched to putting items away directly instead of playing a support role. With your combined efforts, it only took a few minutes. After the plastic bags had been stuffed in the space under the sink, you high-tended? Oh, okay, like a high five. Okay, yeah, but with both hands. You high-tend smacking both your hands against Derek's for a job well done. Having a partner to tackle the small things was just as nice as having someone you could count on for life's bigger struggles. I mean, I feel like, did I say that I live with Cove, or do we live separately? Are we roommates? I don't remember. I know we have a business together. That's all I remember. Derek had matched your thoughts on forgetting the groceries, and you felt that working together to put those away had brought your minds in sync again. His expression was peaceful. A weight had been lifted off his broad shoulders, both from the perfectly orderly kitchen and the company he had within it. Derek waved a hand in an arch that was as wide as the small of his face. Night, Kingsley. Good night. Have a safe trip to your room. Your quality time with Derek was put on temporary pause to prepare for your bed and collapse into your sheets. But in a blink, the sun had risen once more. You repeat the process of getting ready, though with the goal of being ready to face the day rather than conclude it. One thing you decided against was changing clothes. You'd fully dress when it was closer to when you'd be heading out to the business event. From there, you went to the living room. The perfectly clean counters were a welcome sight after your efforts the night before. Those last moments of the previous day had gone by so fast, and you fell asleep so immediately. It honestly felt like a 10-minute timeout had been called rather than several hours passing. But Derek's warm greeting was still welcome to your ears. It's a brand new day, a fresh start, and we've already set to make the most of it. His resolve from the park hadn't been lost in the light of the new day. Love that. Love to see that your resolve is still here, because mine would have left. I go to sleep and like everything just resets. Rather, the Derek that the dark moment seemed a lifetime away from the man in front of you now. Morning. Today is gonna be an adventure. For sure. How do you sleep? Better than before. I slept deeply the whole night. Why did he say awesome like that? Awesome. It was so funny. I kind of liked it. His eyes darted towards the tiny kitchen where plenty of supplies were tucked away. Then his gaze returned to you. Before our big day, we gotta have breakfast. Can't be running on empty. Yeah, I'll get something. What do you mean you'll get something? You can't just make breakfast? You don't got eggs? Oh wait, hold on, yeah. Derek's meal consisted of scrambled eggs. I should have just fucking read. And a side of cinnamon still cut oats cooked in almond milk. What the fuck is cinnamon steel cut oats? Is that galvanized steel stuff that they see that they be having in those little videos? You prepared some eggs with simple accompaniments. Plates, bowls, cups, and utensils were set on the table, and the two of you sat yourselves down in chairs. You noticed Derek focused on a single part of his food at a time. He didn't start working through the oatmeal until the eggs were entirely gone. Between bites, Derek chatted idly about your plans. Do you know what you're gonna wear for the thing? Our important networking gathering? Dad said it was like, was I supposed to read that, or was that his voice? I don't fucking remember. That's okay. Derek's dad said it was business casual, but I'm not gonna stress over what that means. What do you mean you're not gonna stress over what that means? Business casual is business casual. Wear a nice shirt and like a pair of jeans. Business casual, there you go. Some like decent shoes, not sports shoes. From his stories, some event runners think business casual is wearing a blazer instead of a suit jacket, but the rest of the suit stays, and others mean it means you can roll up in shorts. Now, business casual has never been shorts. But go off. Go off. Yeah, I've got something to wear. I can manage that. Hopefully, they're as easygoing as you are. People ought to have a business meeting to decide what counts for that. Could I still wear the swimsuit? I was gonna wear the water park. I would say that one. That'd be pushing it. Sorry. Oh well, worth a shot. He drummed his fingers against the tabletop in slow, even beats. Derek's gaze drifted. Look, I know what business casual is. I have a business. I have business meetings. Gaze drifted towards the tall glass doors and the wide world beyond them. It's an early lunch, but we're still gonna have some time to kill before needing to head out. If you don't mind, I might go over some aspects of the business as a refresher. Sure, go over the business with me. I know what it is. It's, snorkeling shit. It's, beach shit. Yeah, beach shit. I still have never been to the beach, actually. His face was still tilted to the side, but he glanced at you out of the corner of his eyes, a cheeky smile pulled upwards. People might actually want to talk to me about the shop at this company owner luncheon. Company owner luncheon, okay. Through lighthearted laughter, Derek rattled off aspects of the business he could look into. The current main suppliers, relevant regulations Dad and Mr. Holden have to follow, current sales trades and all that. You chatted with him about it, you nodded along with the prep talk, your nose again a prickle. Y'all chat. You reminded him of some of the market trends and tourism levels in the area. He appreciated the input. Everything should be covered with your two forward-thinking brains working together. Derek grew more and more determined as he spoke. He stopped briefly to polish off his oatmeal and down a bottle of sports drink. You followed his head and made quick work of your breakfast. I followed his lead? Does that say stead or lead? So I'm pretty sure I said head. Words. Both of you cleared off your own dishes. I could go back, but I don't want to. Both of you cleared off your own dishes to keep the space clean. There was no rush that morning. I'm off to hit the books, which is a phrase that makes it sound way more exciting than it actually is. That phrase has never made it anything sound exciting. Research to me is not exciting. That shit's boring as fuck. I've never liked research. Be back soon. Bye. Derek skipped down the hall and shut himself away in his bedroom, the one place in the apartment he still hadn't seen despite living there for multiple days. Either way, there was a lengthy job right ahead of you, but before you had another equally important duty. With how busy each day in Prism Vista City had been, it was rare when you had time to keep up with texts. You needed to reach out to your family while you could. Do I? Lee was on a trip herself, gallivanting around Europe. Okay, Lee. Okay, go off, girl. She sent you a whole series of photos she'd taken from foods she'd eaten to fashion she'd worn. It all looked amazing. We love to see it. We love to see it, Lee. Liz shot you back a message to say she was so swamped. She apologized but had little time to chat with her little brother. Knowing Liz was okay comforted you, and so did seeing how her queenly attitude still hadn't changed, but it was a bit sad that the both of you had such separate lives now that you'd grown. Your digital conversations wrapped up, and it was still too soon to get ready. You relaxed in the apartment, you went for a walk, you decided to ask Derek if you could study the material too. You decided to ask Derek if you could hang out with him. Let's go study the material too, let's go be boring together. You skipped down the hall, standing in front of the master bedroom door. You had a building sense of excitement. That was Derek's room. You know what? I did the same thing. I try to include myself in all of Gil's activities. Like he runs like a tabletop game, not like physically, but like internetly, digitally. And I'm like, let me join. But he's like, okay. He asked me like his opinion, like my opinion on things, and I really don't have one because I'm like, this is boring. And like when we first started dating, he sent me this like big ass book of like the game rules and all this shit, and I'm like, I hate this. This is so fucking boring. But the things I do for love, you know? Like if you ever have a crush and like you get so into whatever your crush likes, that's me. That's me. I become like obsessive, and it's not healthy. I know that. But like that's me. And so now when he runs his games, I'm like, yeah, secretary. I'll secretech for you. He's like, you don't even know what you need to write down. And I'm like, that's okay. I'll figure it out, you know? Love. Partnership. I don't like being alone. Not wasting any more time, you hit the door with a jaunty series of knocks. There was a rattling sound that came from within. The walls might be thin in this building, or your visit might have gotten a better reaction than you'd anticipated. You know, that's the thing. I feel like that's a little sibling thing. Because even like when I hang out with my friends and they're doing stuff, I'm like, I want to come too. Let me come. Let me do stuff with you. I don't care what you're doing. I just want to be there, you know? I did that with my brother. When I went to go visit my best friend, she was playing Cult of the Lamb. She was like, I don't think she had like multiplayer at that time, but she was like, is it okay if I play this? And I'm like, totally. I do not mind watching you play games. I do that all the time. I watch people play games. Like, it's totally cool. And we had a blast. We had a fucking blast. And they are the reason that I have Cult of the Lamb. I have not touched it because Gil has my controller. He uses to play Dragon Ball Z and he gets mad at the controller. But I'm like, get your own fucking controller. Don't get mad at my controller. Get your own. Option 2 had an extra point in its favor considering how Derek enthusiastically yanked the door open. Hey! How have you been? Good, I was messaging people. Would you mind if I took a look at the business records too? Really? He tilted his head to press his cheek against the frame. Derek was delightfully bemused. This is as boring as you'd guess brushing up on someone else's business would be. It was a cautioning statement, but with how rosy he sounded saying it, it felt more like encouragement to proceed. It couldn't possibly be more boring than sitting by myself out in the living room. I'm here for Derek time. It's wasted out there. Kingsley gets it. Whoa. His eyes went wide, stunned and dazzled. The prospect of holding himself up for a study session wasn't as much of a long-suffering burden anymore. Come on in. The doorway wasn't large, so he had to back into the wall to let you by. He could have gone in ahead of you and left it open, but that wasn't his style. He was going to hold it for you. Okay. Oh, okay, so this is his room. Does he have a computer? Does he have a laptop? You passed on through the entrance and past Derek, stopping near the front of his king-size bed. Now, what is with this? What is this? What is this Jara over here? Beeswax? Does he have beeswax over here? What is this random ass block? What an interesting ass room. I have questions. You passed on through the entrance and past Derek, stopping near the foot of his king-sized bed. The final piece of Derek's apartment puzzle was revealed to you for a complete picture. It was neat and the space was well utilized, as expected of Derek. You could see the fingerprints on the same prefab style the overall apartment had. And there were far fewer footballs and soccer balls laying around than his bedrooms of past. I mean, sure, I guess. Why does he have so many soccer balls? What are you doing with these soccer balls? The door gently closed and Derek came over to where you stood. I like your room. This isn't as mysterious as I thought it'd be. Thank you, Derek. I know you're busy. Hey, there's hardly any balls in here. I hope me being here won't get in your way. You quietly kept looking around. There's hardly any balls in here. You caught me. I had to leave most of them behind, but quality over quantity. He presented the space to you with flair, arms stretched out. So, here it is, my room. It's no big deal, but the tour is really done now. You chuckled satisfactorily. It really was a treat to be allowed into his personal space, and so welcomingly. It's a great one. It's only been like almost 2 hours. I feel like I've been streaming for 3. I feel like I've been streaming for 3 hours. His guide duties complete, Derek hopped into hopped into his chair to resume his other appointed task. He was truly a busy man. Want to look this over? I've gone over these files already. They're all yours. He flopped the files in question over his shoulder. It was a fairly thick stack of both stapled packets and loose sheets of paper. Time to end stream. No, we're gonna get through this fucking game. Gonna get through it. You accepted the material gratefully. Not everyone would be as accommodating as him. You wouldn't take it for granted. Thanks. You sat on the bed, you sat near the door, you sat by the desk, you leaned against the desk. I want to sit on the bed. The mattress was firm, clearly quite new, and was made for a steady seat, though it still had enough cushioning to be comfy. You kept your legs dangling off the edge, directing yourself towards Derek. His nose was still in the proverbial books, but you doubted he'd care about you making good use of his bed. Derek skimmed his eyes over page after page, hunching over his desk. It was an exact picture of what was happening before you got there. Or almost exactly. He likely wasn't talking to himself while he was alone. But now he had a study buddy to bounce questions off of. Derek asked your opinions on perspectives and had someone to groan to when the details were especially dense and obtuse. Seeing the sheets firsthand, you wouldn't have been thrilled to go over it all by yourself either. But you didn't have to. You had Derek. It was a productive way to pass a morning. Then it was noon. You knew the moment it happened was a piercing buzzer went off on Derek's left. Yikes. Now I'm having terrifying alarms. Do you guys have alarms set, and do you use like the actual alarm system, or do you have like specific songs that you have set? Because I have some songs set, and I kind of hate them now. And I think I need to change my alarms up, because it's making me hate songs that I really love. I think that's it. I think I just need to change my alarms. Because, like, I get anxiety now when they wake me up in the morning. Like, Thankfully, his reflexes were as sharp as ever. His phone screeched only for half a second before his hand shot out to silence it. The sound after that was a gentle tapping of papers. Derek gathered his files strewn all over into a single tiny pile. Time to go. He reached for his phone once more, sliding it to the center of his workspace for later before pushing himself to his feet. He glanced over at you. You try to have more gentle sounding alarms so you won't have alarm PTSD. You know what? I feel that. But at the same time, it's like, all these fucking... Look, I think it's just alarms for me. It's just alarms. I don't like them. There's the... What is it? The clock alarm? It's this one alarm. Like, when you set timers, I like that alarm. I like the timer alarm when that goes off. It's not as threatening for me, but it's still like, no thank you. Do you mind me kicking you out? I gotta change. Oh, we can't get changed in front of each other? Okay. No problem. Right, I need to get dressed too. Oh, do I really have to miss that part? It's cool, you can go ahead. Pretend I'm not here. It's just the suggestion of Derek undressing had you flustered. Curse everyone who uses multiple alarms. I've learned to block out Gil's alarms. I have. I don't even hear them anymore. Right, I need to get dressed too. After shooting you a thumbs up, the impromptu business representative of the day waved you off. You got off from the comfy bed and returned to your own room. You hefted the big rolling suitcase onto the mattress and unzipped it wide to access what you had on hand. Your normal style was proper enough for business lunch. You happened to bring a more formal look just in case. This wasn't what you packed for, but you tried your best. You chose to dress comfortably with no regard for formality. You had literally nothing in your bag that made sense for business lunch. You dressed extra fancy for the event. My normal style is good enough for a proper business lunch, thank you. Anything in your bag would be great. That was convenient. Balancing speed and care, you got into fresh, clean clothes. You attempted to get as many wrinkles out as possible. It was a semi-futile endeavor after how long you'd been crammed into that compartment. After how long they'd been crammed into that compartment. Once you were looking as nice as you could, given the circumstances, you bounded back to the living room out of the apartment. Derek was ready and waiting for you when you stepped out of the hall. Oh, look at him. Why is he dressed like Tom Nook? Not Derek cosplaying as Tom Nook. I can't. He was smartly dressed in a pleasant green short sleeve button down shirt and some tan slacks. The Animal Crossing came to me today, it seems. It seems I didn't go to Animal Crossing, but the Animal Crossing came to me. We have a Tom Nook cosplayer. It was quite literally the least sporty you'd seen him in your entire life, but the look really worked with his eyes. Those verdant eyes were focused right on your purple ones, at least when he first noticed you. After that, there was a moment when his gaze began to wander down over your choice of dress for the big event. His staring didn't linger long enough to be impolite. It was as if he'd perfectly calculated the ideal number of seconds for personal joys and the upholding of societal values. Okay, just tell me you're Christian, okay? That's all I have to say. He was Christian. He looked at me like a Christian. Kingsley, I'm not worthy. Kingsley, I'm not worthy. I know you always dress to impress, but still. This is your vacation and you're gonna spend the afternoon decked out around a bunch of strangers making small talk. Thanks, Derek. You look more like Mr. Suarez than Derek right now. I feel like that's not something you say to someone that you wanna have sex with. It's okay, I wanted to do this. All the praise made you bashful. You gave him a classic thumbs up. Be bashful. Blush. Your reaction had Derek tickled. An uncharacteristic smirk could be seen pulling at his mouth. It was completely stunning. New clothes and a new expression. He was a brand new man. That certainly didn't help your shyness. Derek's hands went to his hips in a dramatic pose, ready for the adventure ahead. Let's go! You left the apartment behind, not knowing when you'd once more return home. Your and Derek's days as official business representatives had begun. The ride over was nothing but smooth. Even the city traffic felt lighter. The world knew you were busy people with places to be and had moved out of the way. Derek avoided any dead air during the short trip. He chatted boyishly about the organization putting on the social. His dad had attended one of their occasions last year, and from the bits and pieces Derek learned, they sounded like a professional group. By the time he finished dishing, he was pulling into the parking lot. The venue was a classy seafood restaurant right on the beach. Ooh, Red Lobster? Red Lobster, when I was younger, was the fanciest fucking place I'd ever been to. And now I'm just like, oh, it's Red Lobster. In a way, well, Red Lobster has gotten pretty expensive, though. I mean, everywhere's gotten really expensive. Remember when things used to be like $30 for like a nice meal? And now it's like $30 for like a regular meal. What does the world come to? Inflation. The venue was a classic seafood restaurant right on the beach. In a way, it reminded you of Derek's condo, modern with pale shades and massive windows that went around the half the building. Despite living in the area nearly your entire life, you'd never eaten there. Your family had your favorites and habits. That would be a new experience for you and for Derek. He hasn't attempted to start a new conversation. There was a silence, and the sparkle in Derek's eyes revealed his inner pride. He was there as a true stand-in for his dad. They were equals in that way. Being there as he arrived was a moment you were grateful for. It was a brief drive, but with a long road behind it to get there. Derek briskly approached the door. His jaw was tightly set, his hands open and closed slowly. Fittingly, he could be described as meaning business. You dashed it open for him. You walked behind him. Girl, what I look like dashing to open this door for this man? If I get there first, I get there first and I'll open the door. But if he gets there first, he gets there first, you know? What I look like dashing? This is a business event. I am not dashing for anyone. Derek curbed his seriousness on the precipice and opened the door without unneeded firmness. As expected, he didn't enter. Instead, he held it open while glancing back. After you. He mouthed the familiar words at the same time Derek spoke them. His gentlemanly demeanor scrunched at the light teasing. You giggled but didn't hold up the show. He'd stand there all day if you didn't accept the gesture. You passed through it into the building. Derek was right on your heels after. The restaurant had an arrangement of square tables each with a silky smooth tablecloth and a bouquet of flowers. You could tell they were real even from the distance. Okay, we're doing it up. Having real flowers. Ahead of the seating, a makeshift stand was set up. It had only a plain podium with a microphone, though not much else would be required for its purpose. Now, when I thought business luncheon, I don't know what I was expecting. I was not expecting a restaurant. I was expecting like a con. Like, if you've ever been to like a con, like a convention, that's what I was expecting. I was expecting that. A big ass room, a bunch of people, no tables. I don't know why. That's just how my brain worked. There was a high arched ceiling with visible wooden support beams ribbing the framework. The whole dining area had been reserved for the luncheon. A sign had been posted up front, and there was name cards on each of the tables. And every spot had water already set out for the anticipated attendees. Other guests had arrived before and had already taken their spots. That answered the question of what you should do now that you were there. Figure out where you were meant to be. Derek stuck close by as you waved through the tables, glancing at every name tag you passed. Now, will our names be here? Because we just agreed to this yesterday. So I don't know if Derek's dad had the time to, like, arrange for us to be here. Because technically, I'm business partners with Mr. Holden's son. So will I be taking Mr. Holden's place as his son? Maybe. Do I have 2 dads and 2 moms? 3 moms? Maybe. 4 moms? Maybe. Ultimately, you found the intended seats, just for the intended guests. At one of the center tables were 2 cards, one with Mr. Suarez printed across, and the other right next to it with the name Mr. Holden. Just enjoy the ride. Listen, why can I be excited about having extra parents? Why can I be excited? It's kind of sad they kept inviting Cliff and he never comes. If they're expecting Mr. Holden, they're going to be really surprised when they see me. Derek, is it really okay for me to be here? You felt painfully awkward already. Coming was a mistake. I am a mister, but I'm no Holden. Derek unconsciously ruffled his spiky hair, musing it up, despite the fact that you were certain he'd specifically brush it out before you left. They didn't get the memo. Even working professionals have organizational mishaps. He opened his eyes and smiled. Saying it out loud made him realize his own point. Honestly, that's reassuring. Jared gripped each of the shiny designated seat tops. He tugged both out from underneath the table. Then he patted the one with Mr. Holden's card before it. It's all yours, Kingsley. I mean, I could be a Holden. Cove's family could have adopted me. You're gonna do the real Mr. Holden proud. I hope so. I hope to take over this business one day. Why, thank you. You accepted your position with grace and poise. The place next to you was filled right away. Derek propped his chin up on top of his hand. He rested against the table. Hey. He leaned in closer, amusement playing on his face. If things don't work out with this party, we can make a break for the door. That's always worked out before. Okay. He's bringing up the joke of us at the soiree that we weren't supposed to be at. You had to slap a hand over your mouth. The snort you let out wasn't business meeting levels of appreciated volume. Of course, not even a networking event can be dry without Derek around. He made everything fun. I wonder if this party will at least have dancing. There's no way this event is going to compare with the Cypress's soirees. At least we're kind of invited to this event. It's better than crashing. I felt more at ease in that party we crashed than here. You quietly slowed your breath to calm down. At least we were kind of invited to this event. That's the spirit. Derek behaved as if this was a normal meal between friends. He was totally at ease. He thumped your upper arm with his fist, parrying that with a wry smile. Man, I'm glad you're here. Being responsible still gets to be a good time. Derek winked, beaming brightly. I'm glad I'm here too. Ooh, excuse me, I had to burp. You're welcome. Only for you, Derek. Only for you. You're worth the drudgery of work events. I love stuffy work events. Christ. Cheeks flushed, she smiled right back. I love stuffy work events. Derek's gaze lingered on you affectionately until you could no longer pretend as if you were there alone. The guests were arriving and Derek sat back in his seat like a proper student. More attendees joined you around the table, both at your spot and throughout the rest of the space. The age range of the invited business owners was wide. Some looked to be triple in years to you, and some seemed even as if they were barely out of high school, and everything in between. It made for an interesting crowd. Conversation didn't even have a chance to begin before a primly dressed server approached. White polo shirt, black pants, and a stack of single-page menus in hand. There was no need for them to explain why they were there, but they did anyway. Hello, I'm Gus, and I'll be your waiter. I've got your options for the event here for you. The simple plain paper lists were passed around the table.
They were printed just for the occasion. Rather than a full restaurant scale of options, it had been pared down to the basics. Considering it was paid for by the event, you couldn't complain. Just let me know when you're ready. Gus watched over you with their now empty-handed demurely resting in front of themselves. The selection was simple enough that they didn't offer to come back after you had time to read over the menu. It was likely for the best that every order was put in at the same time. Not wanting to keep the server waiting, you made your preference known. There's a chicken option, there's a steak option, there's a salmon option, there's a garden salad. Maybe I'll get a steak. Derek followed you up with a request for chicken. The rest of your group got all steaks. Okay, so Derek's the odd one out. Should I have gotten the chicken to make him not feel so bad about getting chicken? You know what? Derek's a free man. Derek's a man. He has no issues. He's confident in his choices. If they were getting a free meal, they intended to make the most of it. I mean, same. You were in good company. Gus jotted down the request, cleared away the menus, and left with a thank you. The expectation of food stirred up an initial conversation, but the tepid early chatter faded back into nothing under the puffing sound of a mic being tapped. Every face turned to the front. The speaker stood tall behind a small podium that served as the grandstand of the event. The commencement of the luncheon was announced with a great aplomb, and you were all welcomed with a warmth that felt personal, even though it was given to an entire room of people. The opening talk discussed their organization, showed appreciation for their sponsors, and praised the restaurant for the provided meals. A fair amount was squeezed into a short period of time. It had to be said, but they didn't have to draw it out. As quick as possible, the speech was ending. The floor is open. We invite you to socialize. We're all here for the same reason. See if you can hand out your card to 5 fellow guests before the event is over. Oh, we don't have business cards. We do not have business cards, Derek. At least 5, huh? Your eyes were studiously glued to the event runner. However, it was obvious Derek began to smirk. You could hear it in his voice. And even if he hadn't said anything, you would have known. That was a competition, whether the speaker intended for it to be or not, and of course, Derek would be game for it. Alright, I need to blow my nose. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Oh, sis. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay, let's go back. What do I do? Pat his arm, you sneakily pinch Derek's arm, you chuckle softly to yourself. You know what? Let's chuckle softly. There he went again. Completely unaware of the fighting spirit their words had roused, the speaker stepped down. From there, mingling began. One of the older, graying individuals at your table broke the ice. You described them as grizzled yet refined. Time had chiseled their features rather than worn them down. This couldn't have been their very first event of this type. Well, we ought to introduce ourselves to the people here before going out to the masses. Agreeing nods and murmurs followed, starting with Jamil, the man who suggested the idea. The group went clockwise around, taking turns giving their name and a few details of their business. Jamil owned a photography studio. There was someone who did web design with a fully online business and another who brewed their own beer. No, not... Does he make ales too? He doesn't need to brew beer. What do you need to brew beer for? There's so many beers out there. I think beer is disgusting. I personally think beer is disgusting and it should be abolished. When Derek's time came, he stood as if he'd been called to the front of the class. No one else got out of their chair to give their introductions, but he wasn't one to do anything half-heartedly. My name is Derek Suarez. I don't own a business, but at least not yet. But I am here as a stand-in for a small, self-made company. It's nice to meet you. Before the spotlight could pass from him, Derek reached into his pocket to retrieve the stack of business cards for his father's company. Here you go. I've got enough of these for everyone. Gotta do what the speaker said, right? Derek used the extra height he had while on his feet to reach across the table and make certain each person received a card from him. He even let you have one. Girl, I don't need your dad's business card. I don't need that shit. Not prohibition. It's not prohibition. I just think beer should be abolished. All the other alcohols, go off. Do good. But beer and ales, not for me. Some shook their heads and laughed while accepting, you know what, I'd never had dark alcohol. I haven't had Hennessy. But like, the other ones I'm totally fine with. I'm not allowed to drink right now anyway. Due to my medications, but it's been a while. Some shook their heads and laughed while accepting Derek's offering. A couple traded Derek a card in return for his. With a base goal of 5, he was off to a great start. Derek confidently lowered himself into his chair once more, then gestured to you. My turn. I'm Kingsley Rigel. I too am a representative of the business Derek mentioned. I'm here just for Derek. I came for the free food. You look to the next seat. I do have a business, but I'm not technically here for that one. Your group doesn't know me for that. I'm attending an association with the same company as Derek. But would it be wrong for me to pass out business cards for me too? I have a business. I have a growing business. Jax, you don't make sense. His bed's right next to me. He's laying on a pile of blankets. And like half his, like part of his body, not half, but like part of his body is underneath my desk. You don't make sense, Jax. Why are you on your bed? Only one more person needed to go after you to complete the lightning round of self-introductions. With that, the group could pursue their own goals. The beer person struck up a conversation with the designer about their own site and how it didn't exist. She only had an Instagram at the moment. Okay, girl. Janelle was familiar with many people in attendance and went to make his own rounds. Derek shifted closer to you, a grin across his eager face.
Let's get to it.
Let's give out some more cards. He invited you to pass out business details with as much as what? No. He invited you to pass out business details with as much as enthusiasm. Okay, I see. With as much enthusiasm as he would have asked you to play an actual video game. Apparently that sounded equally as fun to him. This was fine in your mind. The two of you excused yourselves from the assigned seats. Derek surveyed the room for a new card receiving targets. Derek set his sights on a small collection of people gathered a few tables away. He pointed subtly with his finger to wordlessly signal his intentions. You gazed back at him unwaveringly. Together you approached the fellow attendees. Derek announced himself with a polite wave. Hey! 3 mature faces turned towards him. All were dressed in the business end of the business casual, having elected to wear dress shirts and pants with unbuttoned blazers. What are we talking about over here? We're catching up on what's happened in the interim since our last gathering. I don't recollect seeing you there. Who might you be? Are you here together? New business partner? Nah, not him and me at least. My name's Derek. My dad owns the business. We're here as representatives for it. You might know him, Mr. Gregorio. I've never seen this. Hold on. If Jorge is Junior, why is his name Jorge? Why is it not Gregorio? How do you say this name? I'm gonna fuck this man's name up on accident. I've never seen this name before. Oh, look who's here. Look who's here. Jax, here to ruin my day. Girl, not the no, Domino's, don't do this. Why is there pronouncenames.com. Okay, thank you, pronouncenames.com. If you don't just fucking show me the Gregorio, okay. Thank you. Why is there an app for like a 30-second video? It doesn't make fucking sense to me. Gregorio Suarez or his business partner, Mr. Cliff Holden. That's his name. Cliff. You nodded at Derek's explanation of the situation. That's it, and I'm Kingsley. Ah! Exclamations of understanding came from the entire bunch all at once. That made complete sense. Each took turns chattering, okay, about how they personally knew Derek's father and how they had heard tales of the enigmatic Mr. Holden. Every one of them noted amazement at Mr. Suarez's eldest son. Gregorio had mentioned Derek on numerous occasions, and there he was in the flesh. Derek patiently listened and participated in light conversation, the picture of civility. The other guests had no clue okay. The other guests had no clue what he was waiting for, right?
No, the other guests had no clue that he was waiting for the right moment to strike. How can I help you? How can I help you, Jax? What would you like? But as soon as it could be brought up, Derek offered the little crowd his car. They accepted it without hesitation. Another successful round for Mr. Derek Suarez. You need to go outside? What do you want? You just want me to pet you again? Bless you. So stinky. He just got a bath and already he's stinky. How do you get like this, Jax? How do you get so stinky so quickly? Bless you. He continued to network for a little longer until more than enough info had been given and received. Then you separated from that group with a friendly farewell. Smiling surreptitiously, Derek whispered into your ear excitedly, "Yes. What do you want? Outside? Okay. This is going good. There's already more than 5. We're awesome. Not just awesome, but professional. Totally. Okay, sir. I got you. There you go. Be free." Excuse me, I don't know why me standing up made me yawn all of a sudden. You continue to work the room together. You decided to split up and cover more ground. Let's split up. Let's cover more ground. Derek was on board with your idea. He let you take half of his supplies, and you parted ways until there would be no question on which company made the most impressions. You drifted across the room, having conversation after conversation. Many business cards were exchanged over the course of the afternoon. From the glimpses of your teammate, Derek likely handed out a dozen more himself. Between the two of you, the entire crowd would be going home with Mr. Suarez's business card in their pocket. Eventually, another person took the stand. It wasn't the event speaker. It was a server at the restaurant, likely the head waiter. They requested all guests take their seats as the meal was ready to be served. Okay, I was wondering when this meal was taking place. So I'm like, did we eat yet? Are we just talking? The crowd murmured with interest as they filtered back into their designated seats, you and Derek included. No sooner than every butt hitting a chair did the servers stream out from the back. Derek's chicken dinner and your sirloin was placed on the table. Your grilled sirloin and Derek's roasted chicken breast were well seasoned with flecks of black pepper and green parsley. Ooh, sounds nice. The sides were the same for both of you. Mashed potatoes with the same set of herbs and spices and a neat pile of roasted zucchini and squash. Ooh, that sounds tasty. All talk of business was off the table while eating. The elder of your bunch declared that they were truly tasteless. Declared that was truly tasteless. Okay, yeah. Talking about work, I guess. It was a pleasant meal and well-earned break. As people began to finish their dishes, the table emptied out once more. Some wanted to chase down people who were placed at other spots before it was too late. Others were bold enough to leave the event early. Me. Me. So as the food's done, alright, I'm out. See ya. Eventually, only you and Derek were left seated. He was leaning against his chair back, watching the activity of the room without participating. There was contentment in his features. He didn't need to push even harder, to use every possible second to make progress. Derek made good effort, and that was enough. He'd rather talk to you. Your and everyone else's conversation was brought to a pause by the return of the event speaker to the stage. You blinked in confusion as their voice projected through the air. Can I get rid of this? Get out of my face. For a minute, you'd forgotten there was a speaker and that you were in a fancy restaurant for a business event. It had been just you and Derek hanging out as you usually did. And that turned out to not be far from the truth. The event runner announced the closing of the luncheon. They briefly mentioned future opportunities, but once again wrapped up their talk in a matter of minutes. Thank you all for your attendance. We know how valuable your time is. Please have a wonderful, productive day. It was on that note the business luncheon came to its end. The former speaker stepped down, and the guests leisurely prepared to leave. The ones who'd been itching to go were already out. Those left were content to linger. Neither you or Derek rushed. You were part of a camp who'd fully committed to attending the event. Proper goodbyes were given to the entrepreneurs you'd met that day. You made sure you had all your possessions, and only then did you leave the restaurant and get into the car. Derek tugged at his loosely buttoned collar. It wasn't a tight fit in reality, but what the shirt represented still pulled around his neck.
He clearly had plenty of energy to muster. Derek beat his hands against the car's console like a drum roll. I feel like we still have time to go to the pool, the water park. Success! We did Dad justice and filled our important adult favor. Though narrowed eyes, he spoke the second victory of the occasion, one he had decided all by himself. There's no way someone else gave out more cards than us. We are the champions. You giggled and so did he, while also letting his gaze drift out through the window. He stared at the sky. It took a decent chunk of the day, and it's not totally done. Since we did it, I'm gonna have to talk to my dad about it. He knows those people will want updates. Some were new and he could use a heads up. I can pass on the few cards we did get. Want me to drop you off at home or some other place, or are you coming with? You leveled a glance at him. Do you even have to ask? You're not going to get rid of me. Besides, I had to tell Mr. Suarez my version of the events. His shakes and eyes left it pleased. You were more grateful than ever to be there, at the venue of a business luncheon, in the state you grew up in, and at the sight of your very good friend. Oh, okay, that's what we're calling it? Very good friends? Got it. Okay. I thought you might say that. We'll stop at the apartment so I can change real quick, and then we can head out again. I mean, we don't have to. Are you that uncomfortable in your khakis? Great! Derek put the car in reverse and you were off. Imagining Mr. Suarez waiting expectantly for your report spurred the both of you on. It wouldn't be irresponsible to dawdle. You arrived at the apartment, used the bathroom while Derek changed, and got back into his car in a flurry. From the late afternoon until evening, you spoke with Mr. Suarez. He was indeed eager to hear all you had to say about the get-together. It was wholly more interesting to get the highlights than attend himself, at least in his view of things. He may appreciate those gatherings more than Mr. Holden, but he could not deny you had made it sound more eventful than he'd known them to truly be. The tidbit that amused him most was the business card exchange, Mr. Suarez being proudly at how clever and industrious you and Derek were. He knew he could trust his son and his partner, of sorts, with such a responsibility. That made Derek light up. But eventually, even that had to come to an end. Goodbyes were given, promises for tomorrow were shared, and you left. The sun had long since set by the time you returned to the house for a second time. What little remained of the night was passed in peaceful relaxation around the apartment before collapsing into bed. Early the next day, you lazily hung around the apartment. Derek was showering after the gym, and you'd both already had a quick breakfast. It was a true change of pace to have a slow morning, a slow day, on your trip. You welcomed the break. Derek wanted to pop over to his parents' house one more time. He was still itching to get his hands on Nico's Switch, but there was a blank schedule besides that. No long travel, promises to fulfill, or plans to keep up with. To balance out the one free day, the next was set to be extra full. Tomorrow evening you would be leaving Prism Vista City. Your bus ticket was already purchased. You need to pack and prepare and somehow do everything you could ever want to before it was too late. Truly grasping your own departure wasn't easy. So much had happened, but it was all felt way too fast, like a much anticipated audiobook set to 5 times normal speed. Do y'all listen to audiobooks? I don't. I just feel like I would get too distracted. I feel like I would tune out the audiobook and I'd have to re-listen to the audiobook like 3 separate times. Because that's what happens when I read. At least though when I read, like I can like feel myself zoning out. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And I can just go back myself. With the audiobook, it's like probably like timestamps and stuff. And I gotta get the right timestamp. Sounds like a struggle to listen to audiobooks. Could not be me. Your Life with Derek. Life with Derek. You guys remember that show? I loved that show growing up. And also, that one show, I forgot what it was called. Naturally Sadie or something like that. I think. I miss those shows. Back when Disney Channel was cooking. Your Life with Derek was nearly only a memory. A professional grown-up outing had taken a place in your mind right by that time you helped Derek babysit Jorge and Nicholas. Whether it was years ago or only a day ago, over was over. Being closer in time made it no more reachable in the present. A cheery holler from the halls shook you out of your own head before you could get entirely lost in it. Hey Kingsley, I'm ready to go. Okay.
Finally, I've been fading away out here. Let's go see the family and feel alive again. That's a plan. Sorry if you do not get away from that refrigerator. His eyes twinkled boyishly as he grinned at you. Your lips quirked up at the infectious enthusiasm. Everyone there is looking forward to seeing you. Come on. Derek let the charge out of the front door, which he locked behind him, and onward until you arrived at the other Suarez front door. You rang the bell and didn't have to wait long before Mrs. Suarez's eager face appeared. The expectant smile was identical to the one she wore when you were first reunited. Good morning, Derek. Kingsley, welcome back. She ushered the two of you inside with as much gumption as your original arrival as well. Before you could question the curiosity, you were confronted by another. The living room you'd been led into was entirely empty, aside from you and Derek and his mom. 3 Suarez men were missing. Jorge could be on his way. Nicholas might be waiting for the guests in his room, and perhaps Mr. Suarez needed to use the bathroom. Why are we speculating about this man? Why are we speculating about where this man is? Let this man be. If he's in the bathroom, he's in the bathroom. He's old. Let him live his life. Separately, any of those possibilities made sense, yet all of them being the case at once felt odd. Should we have come later? No, your timing is perfect. She smiled at you wider, but the leading tone of her voice and the Nicholas-esque gleam in her eyes wasn't particularly comforting. It only made you more certain that something was going on. You were going to ask, but the words slammed against the back of your throat when Jorge and Nico sprung up from behind the chair. Surprise! How did they fit? That's what really got you. The Suarez living room wasn't suited for hiding. The boys must have been lying on the ground, pressed together, and you had to be positioned in the exact right angle to not see them tucked away there. Your wide-eyed expression was their reward. The 2 jumping jacks laughed openly, and even kind Mrs. Suarez clapped her hands together in satisfaction at your slack jaw. What is the surprise for? You stammered out the question, still in a daze from the entirely unexplained jump scare. What do you think, genius? Who said that? The voice of the sharpened quip was unmistakable. You hadn't managed to blink since the younger Suarez shout, and the trend continued. Oh my god. It's Elizabeth! Pointing your dry eyes towards the kitchen, you had to wonder if you were seeing things. Somehow, magically, your older sister had appeared out of thin air to leer at you smugly from over the counter. Now, why is she here, though? The laws of space and time were no consideration when it came to teasing you. Cookie, welcome back. How are you doing? How was your trip to wherever you decided to be? It's nice to have you back. Nice to see you. Liz? Duh. Of course that stunt wasn't their idea. You stumbled down onto the couch needing to sit down. You rushed over and hugged her. You ran up to Liz and pinched her cheek to see if she was real. Let's go hug her. You ripped your feet from where they'd taken root and flung your arms around the delicate shoulders of your only big sister. She held you back and flipped her bright orange ponytail over her shoulder like she was donning a scarf of the finest silk. Got you. Yep, she had, and you couldn't have been happier. The persistent self-satisfaction Liz had radiated throughout the room was reeled in to reveal a softer, more genuine pleasure. How good to see you, little bro. What happened to being so busy, Liz? That wasn't merely a ploy. I'm never too busy for you. Ooh. Or a bonus trip where all I had to do was show up. Huh? What do you mean? Liz laughed with an all-knowing air. It was a sound you were very familiar with. I do love you, but I wasn't gonna arrange an entire trip to join you now when I already had to prepare one for Mom's party in less than a month. You can thank your beefcake friend for handling the details, and his parents for letting me borrow their guest room. That's how it happened. He's nosy as well as persistent. Should you call him a beefcake? My beefcake friend? Derek was involved. You had felt nothing could shock you after the Liz reveal, but you had been proven wrong. The man who suddenly had a spotlight thrown on him stood with an awkward stiffness. His arms were folded so tight the form might have been chiseled out of stone.
Is that supposed to be a compliment or an insult? What, the beefcake comment? Neither. It's the truth. I'm gonna take it in a positive way then. Good for you. Derek, you really helped Liz with her trip out here? Derek's grin shrunk shyly. The decision to view his actions in a good light was being put to a test now that it was your turn to talk about them. The sibling group wouldn't have been complete without Liz. Who knows if she'd have time to come to the city during your mother's anniversary. Nicholas and Jorge missed her. Especially Jorge. Nicholas shot out the commentary without looking away from his phone. Jorge glared, completely unseen by the target of the daggers, but he didn't vocalize his disagreement with the statement. And we figured... Excuse me. And we figured you wouldn't mind seeing your sister when she came by, so we worked it out. Surprise! Thanks, Derek. Wouldn't mind. This is amazing. Derek Suarez, you were too nice. Oh, okay, I get it. You didn't have to do that. Thanks, Derek. Hey, no worries. Bashfulness crept over his features even more, though. Like Derek's general perspective, it was a good kind of bashful rather than a bad one. He was pleased with himself. And then the door at the very end of the hall burst open. The entire room simultaneously peered into that direction. Surprise! Mr. Suarez had finally made an appearance of his own. It was at an entrance. He waved his hands in the air and walked over with a jaunty high step. The rate of unexpectedness that day was endless. Before you could even ask the question, Mr. Suarez explained what that was about. Mr. Suarez was going to be behind the counter. However, I banished him to his bedroom until he was certain Liz's scheme was finished. He was laughing too much. He was going to ruin it. I was about to get him myself, but he managed to figure it out. Every single one of Mr. Suarez's sons nodded in support of their mother's decision, including Derek, who wasn't there when it happened. He must have been able to imagine easily enough. Yes, I didn't get to stay, but I could still join a little late. It's an extra surprise. That's making lemons into lemonade. You never had a reason to wonder how Derek ended up with so much optimism. Very good. Thank you for being a good sport, my wonderful husband. You're welcome, lovely wife. And welcome to you, Kingsley and Derek. We're all here. That's right, we are. The Rigel and Suarez family enjoyed a mini reunion full of affection before eventually things settled back into a casual atmosphere. The addition of Liz into the mix was truly seamless. Jorge and his parents bustled around the kitchen to cook their own late breakfast. They had no time for food while waiting to make a grand reveal. My throat's like so dry right now. Nicholas elected to help by not getting in the way. He sat on the table with his face on his phone. The youngest had been completely sucked into the screen in a way you hadn't seen before. You stuck with your sister on the couch. Derek flanked her on the other side. She recounted her traveling adventures, including how at one point she too had to ride a bus and that it actually took a wrong turn. Oh my gosh, that's like a nightmare for me. Being on the bus in general is a nightmare for me, but like a wrong turn on the bus, no thank you. No thank you. So when did bus drivers take the wrong route? Liz demanded of the air. Her long list of points worth noting continued right up until a new announcement was cheerily made. Food's done! Hooray! Eggs, sausage, and well-seasoned diced potatoes have been prepared with fresh fruits available on the side. Oh, that sounds tasty. The whole room smelled of pepper, garlic, and a host of other savory spices. This is making me hungry. I definitely shouldn't have eaten earlier. And it's what? 3? Maybe I'll have something. Derek already ate, and Liz politely passed on the meal as well. She had way too much snacks during the overnight trip and couldn't have another bite. You realized you were still hungry and accepted the offer. You didn't know about them, but you weren't gonna pass on free food. You decided to have a little. I'll have a little. Your very kind host stood aside as you got your meal first. You didn't want to keep them waiting by disagreeing with the order. You got off your seat, filled out a dish with some breakfast, and returned to your place by Liz. Right before Jorge's butt made contact with his seat, he paused midair. Oh, wait, I forgot the chili flakes. Sit, I've got you. Derek winked at his little bro and said younger brother plopped down into his chair. The scrambled eggs piled high on Jorge's plate jiggled. Ew, why are they jiggling? How many eggs you got on that plate, sir? Derek pushed off the cushion, took a few long strides into the kitchen, and retrieved the tube of deep red edible confetti. That's not what I would call that, but okay. Rather than walk over to the table, Derek stayed right where he was and lobbed Jorge's chili flakes over the counter. Heads up! The receiver snatched it right out of the air. Jorge looked at the item now in his hands and chuckled. Good pass. I'm not rusty yet. Derek saluted it from a distance as Jorge began to liberally sprinkle chili flakes over every part of his meal. I don't know how people do it. Every part? Every part? At the other end of the dark wood tabletop, another familial exchange occurred. Mrs. Suarez rubbed her littlest child's bowed, and spoke to him gently. Nico, are you eating? Her sweetness got a lukewarm shrug of one shoulder from Nicholas. His phone remained in his grasp and at the center of his attention. Food wasn't enough to sway his focus. I'm just gonna have a bowl of cereal. Hey Nico, are you texting someone? Someone's busy boy. How sweet you made your love for cereal public. Yeah, I'd have cereal too if I needed to eat. Maybe you should eat more. A bowl of cereal isn't... this is none of my business. This is none of my business. Not in a public space like this. Maybe a private conversation. I'm not gonna get into this. Mrs. Suarez gave the teen one final pat and left it there. She was content that at least he wasn't going hungry. At least he's eating. At least he's eating. That's the main point. I do not need to comment on how he's eating it. When he's eating it, he's eating. Unexpectedly, your ears perked at a small squeak and then the unmistakable rush of running water. Once again, your gaze went to the opposite side of the room. Derek's back was turned to the crowd and the clatter he was making continued with the clanking of pans. The actual reason why Derek had gone to the kitchen and stayed there became evident. He intended to wash the dishes. Boo! Honestly, same. Boo. Boo. Washing the dishes? Could not be me. I say as I wash the dishes. I hate washing dishes so much. Washing dishes is awful, terrible, dreadful. Especially with just one sink. Washing dishes is a two-sink event. Nowhere but the Suarez house would such a gesture be met with swift dissent. But Derek and his impulse to do everything for everyone was infamous. Son, you are a guest. And you didn't even eat. You can't be the one who cleans up. Liz acted mostly as an observer to the family circus, though couldn't help tisking about it under her breath. What an absolute menace of politeness. Derek Suarez, get back over here. Don't leave me. I can help too. No, let me do it. Boo. I'm booing. Boo. Your objection reignited the first two, and there was a full chorus of boos. The united display of disapproval had Derek snickering. Your jeers only make me stronger. He flexed an arm in demonstration. Those muscles were too powerful to be moved. I mean, at least someone should be appreciative of this, because I know Mrs. Suarez is probably tired of doing dishes. I know she probably is. Not saying that she's the main one who does dishes, but I know dishes is not something that people enjoy. So, like, yay. Yay for her not having to do dishes. Mrs. Suarez shook her head as she warmly sighed. You are not allowed to wash our dishes. But Mom. He whined impudently. Mrs. Suarez cut the nonsense off with the raise of her hand. Oop. Oop. With drooping shoulders, his head hung low and dragging steps, Derek retreated from the kitchen. What wasn't low were the corners of his mouth. Those had perked upwards. Mr. Suarez and his junior gave a round of applause as the eldest son left the sponge behind. Soon breakfast at the Suarez home was finished. Nico did put his phone down for long enough to pour cereal and milk into a bowl and eat. The kitchen was cleaned by Jorge and his parents. Derek remained seated with his idle hands in his lap like the proper guest he'd always been at your house growing up. So, Nicholas spoke without being spoken to for the first time in ages, and more amazingly, the phone was gone. It must have returned to the comfort of Nicholas's romper pocket. Want to see the pool? There's one here too. We can dip our feet in, get some sun, hang out. A pool? As a young lady raised by the shore, she had an ingrained beach snobbery, but she didn't need to glare from Derek to correct her attitude. I'd check it out. Okay, we'll see how it stacks up to the old one. Derek piped up in agreement as Jorge nodded along. That's a perfect plan. You go enjoy yourselves. Dad and I will stay here. Take a break from parental supervision. Mr. Suarez had a proper chortle. They certainly do not need any supervision. They are very mature adults in their own rights. Besides, Nico, but he is close. His childlike gleefulness was followed by a frustrated sigh that was distinctly teenager-like. We're leaving now. Nicholas said we, but was obviously going with or without anyone else. He was grown up enough to make that decision. Not in my household. Not in my parents' household. I had to ask for everything. See you. Nicholas flipped the key off the hook by the door and was out. Hurried goodbyes were exchanged, and the rest of the sibling group made a beeline to catch up with Nico. Your target was strolling through the hall, hands on his hips, and whistling a tune. His tersiness? Never seen that word before. Had cleared entirely as soon as he had left. Nicholas cast a glance back at the crowd stumbling up to him. He offered a smile and struck up a casual conversation. I've gone down to the pool for at least a couple of minutes almost every day since summer started. It's basically a ritual. That's cool. You need your daily dose of chlorine. That I do, bro. The party of five continued on to the ground floor of the apartment condo and out the back. Nicholas took out a key card for the pool door. He already had it on him before he was suggesting the idea. He meant it when he said he was going there was a regular occurrence. The normal key he must have been for the house. The area itself felt familiar, as if you were the one going there every day instead of Nico. A pale blue rectangle surrounded by rows of identical lounge chairs. It was a pool. The pool of the other apartment was so much better, but this new pool was a step up from the other. You like both pools? Just a generic shared pool. I have no comments about it. It wasn't great, but the pool couldn't be blamed for that. If it wasn't a boring pool, what would it be? Unexciting and apartment complex pool were two descriptions that could never be separated. I mean, it's a nice pool. It's a pool, you know? It's a pool. While everyone else stalled at the entrance, Nicholas kept on walking. He headed straight to the edge, crouched low to roll up his pant legs, shifted onto his butt, and dunked his feet into the water. Now, usually there's a rule about cleaning yourself before getting into the pool. So you're just gonna have your little nasty toes in the water. You don't know if you showered this morning, Nicholas. Liz and Jorge shared a side-eye glance. There had been an assumption that you'd be hanging out together. Nicholas, however, didn't show much interest in that sentiment. His mood had been all over the place, and ultimately Liz and Jorge elected to give him space. The two camped out on two side-by-side lounge chairs, close enough to keep an eye on Nico, but not enough for conversations to be audible between the pair and Solo. Derek watched the chips fall. Despite this supposedly being a fun-in-the-sun adventure with the whole gang, he was frowning. And not to pray for Derek. Talking about not pray for Derek, pray for me. Pray for me, Frosty Tools. The water sloshed from Nicholas kicking his feet. His eyes were towards the sky, and those long strands of brown hair were nearly brushing the concrete tiles. He felt much further away than he physically was. I'm gonna go sit with Nico. Feeding the pool is the only way to go, and he might like the company. Maybe he will. We don't really know this. Would you mind if I wanted it to just be me and him? It's been a while since he's gotten any one-on-one time. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. Of course, I wouldn't mind using our quality time together. Thanks, Kingsley. Maybe it's not a big deal, but I'd hate to make you feel like I ditched you out of the blue. Derek, it's okay. Go to your brother. Yeah, see you. We waved one another off and parted ways. Your assigned companions were stretched out quite comfortably as you approached. Neither lifted their heads from the rest underneath them, but their eyebrows went higher. Hello. Hey, I have arrived. You took the chair on Jorge's left. These options, why do I have to do either of these? I'll sit next to my sister. I'll be on her right. It was free next to your sis. That was all you needed. She watched you intently as you settled in. How kind of you to spend time with your old sister. Your charming gentleman is in the other direction. Girl, shut up. I can't for Jorge, actually. Meekly, Jorge responded to your statement. It had made him too bashful to ignore. Kingsley, didn't we all? Liz! Girl, you can't just say that to him. You know he has a crush on you. You know Jorge has a crush on our entire family. You and your sister grinned wickedly at sweet, sensitive Jorge. Then Liz primarily smoothed her romper while working the crookedness out of her expression. Well, before you arrived, Jorge here mentioned the recent Father's Day celebration that happened and how mild it was. Fitting for him, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she just had to give her usual Elizabeth commentary right now. I kind of ship them. I kind of ship it. Like, yeah, she's an older woman, but like they're giving relationship. If me and Derek don't get together, I hope Liz and Jorge get together. That's all I have to say. Their plastic seats creaked as Liz and Jorge stretched their torsos to lob mutual glowers across the space between them. Glowers? I've never heard of this word used like that. And then they fell back down, all smiles and snickers. But as I was saying, nothing about the event was unexpected. Though it's possible my standards are too high, I need to accept that nothing will ever top the first time. How can you beat a couple of 13-year-olds skipping town to have a Father's Day party with one of their sisters and no dads in sight? Liz lifted her hands off her lap and spread them out in a wide shrug. Oh well. Father's Day parties are predictable? You should look in the mirror. I knew you'd be joking about that forever, and you still are. Maybe you were predictable too, because she squinted at you coolly with the retort already on her lips. It's my responsibility as the oldest to carry on the family history, especially the embarrassing pieces. Oh, I know you have to. The more something means to you, the more sarcastic you have to be about it. That one got her to pout. Sheesh. Liz's normal resolute attention span began to waver. It was because Jorge's had first. She had been distracted by him, and his disturbance was his brother's. Derek and Nicholas remained on their own. The men on the water's edge were in their own little world. The elder had an arm around the younger shoulder, whose head was resting against the taller Suarez's shoulder. Jorge couldn't know what they were saying from that distance, and if they were even speaking or what expressions were on their faces from that perspective, but his gaze remained set. Jorge. The unexpected firmness in Liz's voice entirely snapped him out of his growing river. Yes? There is something we must discuss. There is? Duh, you've danced around the details, but now that we're face to face, you must tell me. What is this person you're seeing actually like? Oh? What? You're dating some stranger? Maybe we don't have a label, but well, I can't believe it. How'd you know, Liz? I had a feeling and asked. We do text and call, you know. Why? Why? Hold on. I'm kind of shook here. I did not know you guys talked. What is happening here on this day? She made it sound so simple. Maybe it was. You hadn't been bold enough to ever broach the subject. Let's not lose focus. Jorge, how can I judge if they're good enough for you if there's nothing to scrutinize? And is they even right? I'm starved for details. Well, okay, I think there's Zay, Jim, Zier pronouns, I want to say. So, progress. We've made progress. What else? What's their name? Nova. Okay, kind of love the name Nova. Go off. We're both at the same college, both in STEM, and met at a speaking event where people from different majors and classes all attend. Oh, okay, this is cute. Oh, how did it happen? You two making a connection? Basically, between talks, most people hung around the halls waiting for the next to start. Neither of us made much of an attempt to strike up conversations with the others and ended up gravitating towards each other, silently. Your sister couldn't help interrupting. The comment in her head was too good to keep to herself. She giggled delightedly. Gravitating? Oh, what a way to describe a couple of nerds coming together. Go on. You know, I'm not an expert in small talk or that interested in it. Nova overthinks things. It makes chatting with strangers a challenge, girl. Same. But after waiting around for what had to be at least 15 minutes, Jay started asking me questions. Is that G or J? How do I pronounce this? I need to look this up. I don't want to be wrong.
J. These pronouns are Z, zir. Okay. X, XE is pronounced Z. Okay. Okay. Oh, maybe not? Am I wrong? Please just give me a little bit. You gotta take me through the ads, please.
Z, Z.
Okay.
Spell it Z-E-O-Z-E. Z as a syllable.
It's Z. Okay. Z, is it Zem there? Zir? Okay. Okay, I know now. I know now. But after waiting around for what had to be at least 15 minutes, Z started asking me questions. It went from there and has kept going. We exchanged numbers at the end of the event. But back then, I thought Z had gotten bored after doing nothing for so long. But Nova told me later that Z had been trying to get himself. I'm sorry. It makes me feel like I have a French accent. I'm gonna say that themselves to just say something had something already the entire time. Z also said that the reasons he decided to talk to me in the end was because of my forest tranquil features. I don't know exactly what that means. The sight of Jorge so absolutely aglow was enough to make Liz shrivel. Oh no, I'm being won over already. Who will be a bad cop when you bring him home? Derek? I doubt it. Don't worry, sister, I'll be back, cop. I bet Nico would. He's got spunk. Yeah, too much. Nova wouldn't get a word in edgewise with him giving a 3rd degree. That would work. You too. You, Liz, and Jorge continue to familiarly chat amongst each other. Or rather, you and Liz kept getting Jorge to dish on his life in college with Nova and other friendly and not so friendly acquaintances he's made. But eventually... What's up, everyone? You tilted your face up. Standing over the 3 of you was a solid figure of Derek Suarez. Behind him was Nicholas, fiddling with a strand of his wild mane. The youngest and oldest Suarezes had ended their quality alone time. Whatever went on between them, they didn't mention it. Jorge and Liz didn't ask. Your sister was keen to pry into Jorge's romantic life, but not the worries between 2 brothers. Welcome, boys. Take a seat anywhere you like. I don't mind. The last hint of pensiveness lingering around Nico softened at the brash greeting. I'm the only person in this pool area who actually lives here. Where did you get all that authority? Liz is the boss wherever she is, whether it's true or not. Liz struck a dignified pose, with one shoulder jutting forward and her hands on her hips. But the fact that she was lying down while doing it made it fairly silly. Liz is silly. Liz is such a silly person. It's easy to be in charge when you're always the oldest. No matter how tall or muscular any of you kiddos get, I've got 2 to 9 years on you. Don't forget it. We won't, I guarantee. You bring it up often enough to ensure that. Good. So, are you going to accept my graciousness? I think I'm gonna pass. For all the chairs' promise of lounging, I don't feel comfortable in them. They're always either too slick or stick to your skin and no way slippery with 0 in between. I'll miss on the seat too. Of course you will. Jorge and Liz were so tickled with their simultaneous response that you were sure that they would have high-fived if he wasn't so reserved and she not so set on behaving maturely. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry about that. My throat's so dry. It's got me coughing. Nico's slight frame was entirely unmoved by the teasing. Derek, however, did react with an awkward chuckle. Something is seriously wrong with dogs. Like, all dogs in general. The way they just side-eye you. Like, Jax was literally just side-eyeing me while lying down. In, like, a shrimp position. Like, bro, just go to sleep. I can tell you're sleepy.
The now whole group was able to reunite with ease, as if the 5 of you had been chatting the entire time. Liz hummed, self-satisfied. I'm not complaining, but I have to say it's so weird to be sunbathing at a pool and not the beach. Weird is the word for it. Not good, not bad. Just weird. Crossing his arms and letting his eyes shut, Jorge shared his own perspective. It was rare, but always welcome. I think it's weird to be at this pool, not the one we grew up with. Oh yeah? I only ever saw it from a distance. I don't know the joy of truly being there. That's too bad. Yeah, it's better than this one. Yeah! Yeah, for me too. While the brothers wore a set of nostalgic grins, Liz's smile was far more devious. If you want to, I wonder if we could sneak a peek. All the gentle sentimentality from Jorge's face dropped to the floor and metaphorically shattered. The idea of doing that never in his lifetime would have crossed Jorge's mind if he'd been left on his own. But Liz was here and continued to make her case. There has to be a way to slip in. We don't have to be long. No, we don't actually live there. Elizabeth never changes. Her rule-breaking intentions were brushed off entirely with a light-hearted laugh from Derek. It was nothing more than talk. At least it had been until a calm, even voice made it real. We could do it. The lock broke years ago. No way have they fixed it. Derek snatched the mantle of brazen-induced shock off Jorge due to the middle son's own stunning suggestion. Nicholas whistled in amusement. He wasn't nearly as scandalized. She really brings out Jorge's bad boy side. Damn straight. Maybe I shouldn't have brought her out here after all. I don't know, Derek. Impulsiveness seems to run in the family. Jorge, I appreciate your sweetheart side and bad boy side. Jorge, I love you. You a bad bitch. Thanks, Kingsley. Liz, Jorge, and Nico, the troublemaker trio, which they now were, shared sneaky glances between one another. Whoa, you can't be serious. We're already at a pool and not even swimming in it. We don't need another more illegal one. You guys lived there long enough to deserve permanent pool rights, I'd say. Come on, it's barely a crime. Don't be a... Boric? I can't. Boys, listen to your big brother. Liz, listen to your little sibling. I can't do that. I really can't. You're not along with Derek's reasonable points. You shook your head. What a buzzkill. Can I refrain from answering? I don't want to be in this. This is peer pressure. I feel pressure to be a peer. I'm a business owner. What do I look like breaking and entering? Your recklessness is worrying, Kingsley. Is that what you want? Wait, hold on. What did I say? Your unease was catching. Jorge and Nico had begun to frown. The oldest and allegedly most mature person there was another matter entirely. Well, let's be fair. It's still there. It's still 3 against 2. Fully committing to the criminal persona, Liz threaded her fingers together and spoke with leading coyness. She cared nothing for what was fair, but could use it for her advantage against Derek. Having to play hero suited Derek Suarez. He leveled a cool glance at Liz, not backing down 1 inch. He had his own reasons to feel confident. Are you sure that's the standing? I'm saying that for sure that we shouldn't go. It's the opposite of being good hosts. The Suarez brothers are better than that. I feel like we're being ganged up on. She gasped. It was obvious where that was going. She turned from Derek to look at her soon-to-be former cohorts. The defiant gleam in their eyes had faded entirely, replaced by steadfastness. It is probably for the best we don't. There is nothing we could do there that we can't hear. In an instant, Liz was alone in her position. It would be a sad day when Derek's and your earnest advice wouldn't reach through to the baby seat sat. Okay. They're older now. They're not babies anymore. Liz rolled her eyes. It was funny how that was signature to the oldest in your family and the youngest in theirs. Her tight-lipped smirk was still all her own and present in the moment. We'll stay. Phew, bullet was dodged, thanks. No worries, I figured I could count on my bros. Jorge and Nico beamed proudly like the good-natured big boys that they were. As long as you and Derek were there to watch over them, they wouldn't be led astray by other parties. After a near disaster, the gang resettled into their places at the appropriate pool. The hangout session continued on as intended. Jorge stood near his brothers as he recounted a recent paper he'd penned on the Doppler effect. Nico and Derek gleefully expressed awe at the achievement. You've always been the smarts of our operation. Oh. With 3 chances, at least one of us guys had to have a decent amount of brain cells to rub together. Damn, not him calling his older brother stupid. He also admitted that he was stupid too, but like, at least he knows. Brains, bronze, and looks, you brothers have it all. Jorge is book smart and Nicholas? That might be how they actually say it, Nicholas. Is street smart. I'm so impressed, Jorge. I'm so impressed, Jorge. He grinned at you, cheeks rosy. Thanks, Kingsley. Jorge's informative explanation was cut off by a fast-paced techno-pop beat. It wasn't a bad tune, but it made Nicholas shriek. She's calling? Now? He scrambled to retrieve his long-abandoned phone. The events of the morning came back to you with clarity. She was the reason he'd been so distracted. You watched the teen cautiously. Nico had completely frozen after managing to get the device out of his deep pocket. What do I do? Answer it. Jorge's planned reply. It was perfectly reasonable and the only other option besides not answering it. Unfortunately, the bit of common sense was of no help to Nico. His breathing was rapid and the phone shook in his hands. I'll answer it for you if it makes you feel better. Derek, you give advice. You've got more experience liking somebody than me. I only found one less than a year ago. What? In most cases, Derek was the first to jump at solving a problem, but he pretended not to see that whole scene, at least until he'd forcibly been thrown into the event by Jorge's straightforwardness. Jorge, you knew that glower? Tired of saying this word. Derek's brother was threatening to send him to an early grave again. This is not the time. How can I tell anyone else how to handle romance well? I've always choked when I had tried talking to my crush. Oh yeah. What do you mean, oh yeah? The fuck you mean, oh yeah, Jorge? You've been there the entire time. Well, the brains and brawn can't be denied for the trio, but your one weakness is clear. None of you boys can woo to save your life. She's not my crush. As much of a mess Nicholas had dissolved into, he was still together long enough to set the misunderstanding straight. He was so offended his voice cracked. She's a psychic. I've been on her waitlist for months. Oh my god. A psychic? Then just answer. Jorge, how much does a psychic fucking cost that you've been on her waitlist for months, brother? Be honest with yourself. How much money did you spend on this psychic? Jorge reasserted his suggestion, this time with an extra dose of obviously in the undertone. There was no reason to hesitate as far as he could see. It had to be done. Nico bit his lip, twisted his face away from the screen, and for good measure, squeezed his eyes shut. Finally, he tapped to answer. Hello? A small, high-pitched voice, okay, it's small and high-pitched, was on the other line. You knew what it sounded like because you heard it yourself. His phone was on speaker. Nico realized with horror. Everyone else was forced to be aware of it as well. Who is she? She's so cute! Is this Nicholas Suarez? It's Miss Kala. I'm calling all the way from St. Sarah Bell boarding school to tell you the future. Give me a 10 and you'll know what to do then. I tried, I'm sorry. My voice is not for high pitch today. Her catchphrase was well rehearsed and full of approachability. Kala was there to serve, but Nicholas only managed to squeak and fumble to turn the speaker off without hanging up. Liz didn't have a similar struggle. She couldn't stop herself from voicing the thought aloud and entering the conversation. I've heard that before. Saint Sarah Bell? What do you mean? Who are you? Rather than replying the queries lobbed at her, Liz instead delightfully declared the answer to a mystery that had been in only her head. Ah, that's where Shiloh attended high school. I think he was also there for part of middle school, but that's beside the point. Oh, you know a fellow SS Bite? What's his last name? I can maybe, if the stars align, tell you about his future, girl. Nico only watched helplessly. This is not the time. This is Nico's call. This is not Elizabeth's call. He couldn't cut Kala off by changing the phone setting now, but words weren't working well enough for him to explain that she didn't have to chat with Liz. Either unaware or, Either unaware of or pointedly avoiding Nicholas's state, Liz bulldozed ahead. His name is Shiloh Leon Phil. But don't strain yourself to come up with something. He's 22 and graduated from that school years ago. I imagine you won't have much to say about that. That breakdown of the situation was punctuated by a snort from Liz. Miss Kala came right back with a scoff of her own. Before she even spoke, you got the impression Liz hadn't met a challenger in smugness. I do know Shiloh Fields. He's got those huge eyes, freckles, and all those hats. I've always lived in this town. I didn't always go to SSP, but I was right nearby when he first moved in. So there, I know him and his whole group. They're infamous.
Huh?
From all her normal snark, your sister was speechless. She didn't even try to further compete. You couldn't blame her. A random psychic, the little brother of your longtime friend, happened to call was familiar with another of your childhood playmates. Whether it was luck, chance, fate, or pure coincidence, it was definitely odd. Really, what can you tell us about Shiloh? Wait, Liz, what about the guy you yelled at Shiloh and us? You said I'm staying out of this. I don't care about Shiloh. This is not about Shiloh. This is not about Shiloh. This is about Nicholas. Nicholas, what do you want to know from the psychic? I want to know. What is she going to tell you? After an awkward pause, Nicholas blinked out of the stun lock he'd been stuck in and sucked up a fast and full breath. Sorry about that, Kala. It's me, Nicholas Suarez. I'm here.
Oh, I almost forgot why I was calling somebody. You're the real client. What do you want to ask about?
It'd kind of be nice to know why this is happening so late. I thought it was going to be in the morning.
Sorry.
She said, not sounding sorry even a teeny bit.
My big brother,
Chan? Is that how you say that?
visited, and he is more important than you.
Oh. There wasn't much Nico could say against that retort, though he still couldn't stop himself from looking sour. He learned how it felt to be on the receiving side of such an attitude and didn't appreciate the taste of humble pie. Both Derek and Jorge guiltily chuckled on the sidelines at such a display of karma.
Hey!
The voice coming through Nicholas's phone remained unapologetic, but a spark of genuine interest in the present returned to the self-described future seer.
That's what you want to talk about. You got a big brother too.
Miss Kala didn't practice the concept of, I know it said like small and high pitched, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do small right now. It's loud and boisterous. Probably not. I'm probably doing a shit job anyway. It's okay. It's not for serious. Miss Kala didn't practice the concept of client privacy. I mean, she would get fired on HIPAA alone. On HIPAA alone, she would get fired. That was the second harsh lesson Nicholas got in a matter of minutes. He slapped a hand against one eye and hurried to end the call before any further education of life's displeasure could be taught. It's cool, forget it. I hope you have a good day. Tell Chan I said hi.
He doesn't know who you are.
Goodbye forever. Now, how much did that cost? From his face to the phone, Nicholas smacked his fingers against the screen and the psychic connection. With a deep sigh, Nicholas's whole torso slumped over. He went low enough that his hands almost scraped the floor. The encounter had deflated him. What was that about? Jorge posed the question out of simple curiosity. He didn't give a hint of judgment or suspicion, but Nicholas reacted as if Jorge asked where the last cookie went to his crumble-covered little brother. His crumb-covered, there we go. Nothing, it was about nothing. The total shutdown took Jorge by surprise. He frowned. The biggest brother of the bunch took that as a sign to step in with a soft smile and some almost parental words. Well, Nico can have his fun. We've all wondered about what might happen in the future. Jorge's usual placidity returned after a shrug. He could accept that Nicholas didn't appreciate any attempt at prying and focused on chatting with Derek about his own matters. No. I haven't. I'm not sure I want to know. Realizing everything about me and everything else was entirely set to the point where each move could be predicted and would make the world feel almost pointless, even if it was a good future. But what if it was a bad one? Then that'd be even worse. I'm convinced. I definitely don't want to hear about my future. Okay, good. They don't call a psychic. Jorge nodded, to himself mainly. He reasoned it all out, and that chapter of the conversation could be closed, until a low murmur came from the still drooping figure of Nicholas that left an ugly wrinkle across the page. It's easy for you to say. He hadn't been trying to join the conversation. He'd made it crystal clear it wasn't a topic for discussion, yet Nicholas was agitated enough about whatever it was to voice the contempt. I miss when we were at the business meeting. I miss when we were at the business luncheon. I do not want to be a part of this. What's that supposed to be, Nicholas? Freya's suspicion was no longer a description that applied to Jorge's words. They were dripping in it. Jorge's attention now on him, Nicholas coolly peered at his brother between the long, thick strands of hair that dangled in front of his eyes. He didn't speak. Derek's characteristic smile strained under the rising tension. He attempted to sidestep. He clapped his hands together and made another go at shifting to focuses. Nicholas really is getting older. He sighs a lot more nowadays, huh? The weight of the world is starting to get to him. That sucks, but there is no avoiding it as you grow up. Nicholas succeeded in getting Jorge's icy stare pointing his way instead. Did I say Nicholas or Derek? I'm gonna read it again. Derek succeeded in getting Jorge's icy stare pointing at his way instead, but it didn't last. Jorge watched him intently, only long enough to read what he could from his older brother's acts and deeds. Then he came to some kind of conclusion. At that point, the middle Suarez turned again to Nicholas. He didn't look at him. It was thorough. It was through him. Some things don't change even when you're older. Jorge didn't grit his teeth or shout. That there was a lack of feeling, a disconnectedness that was even worse than anger would have been. Nicholas's fingers tightened into fists and he sprung right up. He stared into his brother's face defiantly. He shook with an impotent rage Jorge lacked. Jorge had been looking down on him and easily still couldn't even at Nicholas's full height. That added an extra sting to what the younger Suarez said next. You know what sucks more than growing up? Being the last to grow up. I'm the one who gets left behind. I'm basically an only child now. It's just me and mom and dad at home. The flash of fury burned out quickly. Nicholas began to crumble with every cracking sentence. And the worst part is, I'm probably just being annoying, right? The spoiled baby of the family who's always crying for attention. Of course adults have to go out and do their adult things. It's dumb to think people could do anything else, so I can't even talk about it with anybody. Nicholas's plight devastated Derek. He was ready to move heaven and earth to solve the conundrum of aging if he could. But Jorge's features didn't so much as twitch. Did you really not tell anyone? It was a callousness that left Derek speechless. He couldn't stop the days from going by, and he couldn't even stop his younger brothers from being mad at each other. Nicholas and Jorge Suarez glared at one another unflinchingly. And what is that supposed to mean, Jorge? You told Derek, didn't you? He knew how you felt, and I bet he knows what that call was about. What else would have been talking about by the pool? Okay, there's a you missing in there. You can always talk to Derek, only him. Girl, now you being upset with your brother because he don't talk to you. I mean, I guess. I suppose. Jorge had said it all without saying it. He was accusing Nicholas of loving Derek more than him, and Jorge hated that. That's crazy. Well, am I right? Not his eyes getting wide, bro. Chill out. I feel like this is not something I should be here for. This is not something I should be here for. The staring contest ended right there as Nicholas hung his head down, dropping his glance to the floor. There was only a battle. The war wasn't over yet. You're so smart and somehow not smart at all. Unaffected by the insult, but distinctly frustrated from the lack of real answer, Jorge once again looked at Derek. Derek's mouth had continued to hang open in horror, but he finally closed it. He too turned his gaze away from the middle child. He didn't have any word to offer that time. Jorge stood there between his two silent brothers, futilely turning from one to the other. They were crowded together in the same space, but it seemed to be so far away. Ultimately, it was the lack of response that Jorge took as an answer, all alone right next to the ones who cared most about him. Jorge whispered bitterly. I knew it. The suffocating stillness exploded. Nicholas wasn't finished. You don't know shit! Oh? I know there's no need having three of us around. Derek is more than enough for everybody. Shots were fired back and forth with no ground gained on either side. I was literally 6 when I was obsessed over Derek. You can get over it already. I'll get over it as soon as you do. Nicholas thrust his arms out wide. Caught up in the heat of the feud, the need to take Jorge down, he sacrificed the secret he'd held onto so tightly. Well, guess what, Jorge? I did tell Derek about that call. That means he can tell you about how I never even mentioned him to the stupid psychic. I have 2 older brothers, not just him. I haven't forgotten that, even though you're so sure I have. When I asked for the reading, Derek was already long gone. I wasn't going to demand the universe bring him back. He had better things to do. Hey, that's not... Derek instinctively spoke out against the idea that his family was such a low priority, but managed to hold his tongue. This was between Nicholas and Jorge. Neither could even see Derek amid their mutual misdirected hurt. I want to ask how much longer I'd at least have you nearby. Maybe you'd go away after college, or maybe you'd stay here. I didn't know. But you might have felt bad if I asked you directly in case you were gonna leave. I didn't want to hold you back from going for whatever life you had in mind, with or without me around. And that's the only reason it was easier to admit to Derek, so there. Nico's arms were folded defiantly as he mimicked the snide closing remark the psychic used to tell Liz off. However, nothing about him came across as truly satisfied. He had to twist his face away to try hiding how glossy his eyes were. Nicholas couldn't avoid the throat-clenching emotion in his voice. Jorge was completely floored. Shock, sorrow, and relief fought for control over his face. It contorted with deep caresses. You understood then why Derek had kept quiet about what happened. It wasn't his place to admit something like that on Nico's behalf. After a pained stretch of silence, the feeling that settled in Jorge's heart was an Olympic-sized pool of regret.
I'm sorry.
Nicholas, I'm so sorry. It was a struggle for Jorge to speak. He swallowed thickly, his Adam's apple bobbing. He didn't try to cover how watery his eyes had become. You were right about me, and I was wrong about you. I haven't gotten over the memory of being the odd man out, even though it was years ago. That's not fair. None of it has been. Jorge looked at the sky, getting lost in its great expanse as his mind sank deep into the past. You and Derek have to have moments that were only for the two of you. We're not a set, we're individual people, and we have our own relationships. Though, to me, it still always felt as if there's more moments of Nicholas and Derek than any other. When I was a kid, I never thought I could win. You were clear about whose company you were looking for. I didn't want to make things awkward by being a third wheel, and mostly, I didn't want to test the water to see how much I was welcome between you and Derek. I was too afraid that I wouldn't be. It was better to tell myself I didn't need to be part of it. His eyes and hands squeezed shut. Jorge was unable to face his brother directly. He still forced himself to continue. But as much as I counted myself out, I wanted to be included. I wanted to just say Jorge was back when I showed up, or that you wouldn't go somewhere if I wasn't coming too. I wish I admitted that a long time ago. The stiffness over Jorge's whole form released after he said his truth. His fists unclenched, his shining earth green eyes could be seen again. He had let go for real. While Jorge was the pillar of peace, his brother was the opposite. Nicholas vigorously scrubbed at his face, transferring tears and snot onto his bare arms rather than his face. Not the snot. He could at least pretend he'd pulled himself together. Nicholas spoke again with absolute conviction. I'm sorry I never treated you like that. Back then, and still now, all I think about is how I feel and stuff. Obviously, it was easy for me to move on as if it was nothing because I was the one getting my way. I stopped wanting it to be that way, and that was my closure. But now you're the one having a good time while I'm watching on the sidelines. There's barely a place for me anymore. I really know how it feels. Instead of maybe getting some empathy, I still only thought about me and needed everyone else to care. Sorry, Jorge. I guess I got what was coming with it. That conclusion brought a disagreeable frown to Jorge's face. He looked over the youngest through a narrowed, serious gaze, but the firmness was founded on affection. It was unmistakable then. Jorge wasn't simply a middle child. He was an older brother. All along, in his own way, even when Nicholas couldn't see it, he always had been.
No.
Nicholas, no you didn't. You were in elementary school, remember? Why should you be punished for that? Besides, you're not giving yourself enough credit. Me and Derek did what we wanted to do with your support. It's been years since we've put your feelings over ours. Going to college, moving out, growing up at different times, it brings separation. But abandoning you isn't what you deserve. And even if you did, I wouldn't be glad over it happening anyway. I don't care about fairness. I'm biased. Jorge's brows stayed pinched, but he lost the air of a teacher schooling their misguided student. The warmth of his affection was too apparent. Above all else, my family should get as much good as they can, even if it means they're spoiled sometimes. They should be spoiled.
Don't worry.
And that sentiment goes double for my little brother. Derek might have too, but don't forget either, Nico. You're the only one I've got in the whole world. Nicholas's tears went unwiped. They were free to roll down his face while he shouted as loud as his lungs could manage. I love you, Jorge. When you decided to pick a college nearby, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Nearby, don't it take him a whole 30 fucking minutes to drive? Don't it take him an hour to get over here? Nearby my ass. That's far. That's far away. It's great when we work on those way too big puzzles together and play the weirdest games we can find. I'd never want to lose that. Even though I know you can't hang around here for the rest of your life, I want you to keep coming back. I'm grateful every time you come through the door. Aw, this is so cute. I missed when my brother went away. I still miss him now, even though we live in like 2 different states. I should talk to my brother more. That's the moral of the story. Brother, if you're here, I miss you. I don't think he's here. I think he's working, actually. Or his lips trembled. His blinking was rapid. For someone as reserved as him, it was a display of emotion no lesser than Nico's heartfelt declaration. I don't want to lose you either. I love you. Sheepishly, Jorge lifted his arms from his side. It was a small, subtle gesture. He didn't even bring them all the way up, but he took the initiative to reach out. Nicholas didn't need any more of a sign than that. He bounded ahead and jumped into his big brother's chest. Jorge's long-held fears of rejection were shattered for good. It took a second to get over the emotional and physical stun of Nicholas's hold, but soon Jorge reciprocated. The two embraced one another fully with nothing left standing in between. They were left in peace to have that. But once it was over and the two young men began to part, the piece missing from their brotherly bonding took a step forward. I'm sorry too. Okay. The unexpected statement got immediate laughter from the recipients. Jorge and Nicholas threw their heads back and stayed unified with an arm over the other's shoulders. What did you even do? For those two, nothing was more of a joke than Derek, Mr. Responsibility, the perfect guest Suarez, needing to apologize. Derek scratched at the back of his head, attempting his turn as the third wheel. He might be awkward over butting in, but Derek absolutely meant what he said. I did way too much of the wrong things and not nearly enough of the right things. I'm the one who insisted on handling Nico all the time because I didn't want to ask for help and because I saw myself as the only big brother of the family. My overinflated sense of importance and martyrdom is what I took away any space for Jorge. But that was only when I thought there was something I needed to handle. If everything was fine, I wasn't there at all. I was too busy with school and practice trying to prove myself. Neither of you are to blame for how everything went down. You had to be demanding to get my attention. You had to stay out of my way. I should have been there, not more, but better, and let you have each other too. Least I can do is apologize. The eldest's attempt to accept responsibility was met with an almost fatherly chastening from both his younger siblings. Jorge was able to glance down at Derek the way he could with his one little brother, while Nicholas shook his head and let out a world-weary sigh. That's not true at all. Yeah, no way, Derek. I took demanding attention to a whole other planet. Sure, I was a kid, but that doesn't mean it was cool and easy to live with. You did the best you could, better than I could have if I had to be the responsible one. Can you imagine what a disaster that would have been? We wouldn't have survived this long. That imagination brought Nico's giggles back. It lifted a sad smile into Jorge's face. Not the comment itself, but seeing his younger brother happy. He spoke sincerely to his older one.
It's okay.
I need to say sorry as well. You don't try to push me aside. You didn't have the chance to. I saw what I saw between you and Nico, how you were so close. You had something I wasn't a part of. But I decided entirely on my own to wait around for you both to come to me while never even attempting to be there for either of you. I should have made an effort for my family. You were there for me! Jorge and his calm presence was one of a kind in his family. He was used to those around him being far louder. However, Derek's and Nico's insistent yells still caught the middle son off guard. It was a full rejection of his earnest admission. But as much as Jorge believed that about himself, the refuting of it wasn't a surprise to anyone else. Each brother viewed their own faults as source of all problems, while the others could barely see those shortcomings past the love they held for their family member. From end to end of the semicircle of Suarez's, smiles began to spread. Alright, we're all sorry, none of us need to be. How's that?
Yeah.
It's great. It's great! The two spoke the same words, one after the other, still linked together. Derek watched them, swelling with pride that he got to call them his family, his brothers, and his friends. Perfect, but let's reframe what I was saying. Derek had a grin bright with confidence. He never looked more like the brother he hoped to be as he strode up to his little siblings. He clapped a hand to each of their backs, making a proper huddle among the trio, and stared at them head on. Nico, if you ever decided you were too big to need your older brother anymore and never wanted to see me, it'd break my heart. Please don't stop letting me be there as much as I can. Nicholas sniffed once more before nodding, determined. Jorge, you'll always be my co-pilot. I know you've been backing me up since we were kids, and you're welcome with me anywhere, anytime. Your presence is my pleasure. A dark red flushed over Jorge's face. He was too embarrassed to react with steadiness. Instead, he offered a shaky thumbs up in the center of a loop. It was true that Jorge was Nicholas's reliable big brother, and he might have been the tallest of the bunch, but in front of Derek, you could never miss that he was also a little sibling. Letting out a bark of laughter, Derek gave the boys another smack across their shoulder bones for good measure. Oof! And I promise that I'll always find a way to see you sooner or later, and when I can't be there in person, I'll call. We're never gonna lose touch. I love you, bros. Tightening his grip on their shoulders, Derek physically signified his vow to never let his brothers go. Nicholas responded by letting his head rest on Derek's solid arm. Thanks, Derek. I can call too. Love you. Same, for both what he said. I'll call, and I love you. He followed after Nicholas in more than words, where he placed his cheek against the well-trimmed side of Derek's head. This time, with the full trio, the Suarez brothers snuggled in a loving embrace. You looked on in relief. The tension, hurt, and subsequent comfort had been easily felt even without participating. You've been entirely frozen, attention fixed on the three brothers, until a nudge to your arm brought focus to your own situation. Liz was smirking at you. At some point, both of you had stood. You couldn't remember exactly when you'd gotten to your feet. In the spirit of sibling affection, let me say that I appreciate being here together with you, Kingsley. Because it'd be even more awkward if I was stuck watching the scene by myself. Girl, shut up. I love Liz. I love you too, Liz. Those weren't the words she had said, but you were certain it was what she meant. You get me. The two of you snickered into the palm of your hands. It was an attempt to be a little quiet, but your own sibling camaraderie was notable enough to gain onlookers of its own. Your sister and you glanced over to the intimate scene of brotherly love, only to find the group of them staring back at you. The three men expressed a gradient of embarrassment, Nico being the least fussed and Jorge the most. Derek was in the middle of this scale, too amused and uplifted to feel that ashamed. But each came to the exact same conclusion about it. One more apology was needed after all. Sorry. I totally forgot you two were here. Oops. Sorry again, it's my fault. I pushed Nico to talk at a bad time, and we shouldn't have aired that out in front of you. I would say not. She leered forward, and the floral bracelet she wore jangled on her wrist. From the dramatic way she placed her hands against her hips. You know, I was very upset when you spoke about Derek being enough for everyone. I could hardly stay out of it. No offense, but Jorge is my favorite of the Suarez trio. Liz wasn't known for a subtle touch. She was on the nose with all of her thoughts and opinions. That kind of directness could only lead to one thing, Jorge blushing again. Liz, you don't have... A large hand landed squarely on Jorge's head, startled him into stopping. It was Derek's. Oh, he winked amiably. Hey, she's allowed to speak her mind after we did, and it's a solid choice. Agreed. That's a sensible lady with good taste. Jorge smiled shyly. Thanks. Both of my brothers are my favorite. Me too. Same. Oh, where do I fit into this? Who am my favorite? You know? Who likes me the most? Responses flowed into one another, the other in perfect order, like dominoes lined up exactly so. All three of the Suarez's are my favorite. Derek's my favorite. Jorge is my favorite too. Nicholas is my favorite. I can never pick only one. Jorge's my favorite too. Kingsley. Yeah, woo! Jorge is cleaning up this competition. A well-deserved victory. Glancing between the faces of each, noting the individuality and familiarity in their features, you thought getting to spend this trip with those brothers was something you'd always be thankful for. When Derek's laughter filled the air, it rang differently than before, playing a new song. Man, if I was younger, this would have been the point where I jumped right into that pool, clothes be damned. Luckily, I'm enough of an adult to remember I've got an expensive phone in my pocket, not to mention my wallet. Also, you're driving us home later, so... You can still do it if you put those down first. What if you left your phone and stuff on land? Then you could. I'm still jumping in the pool. I kind of wanted to. I was going to leave my phone and stuff on land. Disaster averted. I mean, you could if you put it down first. That solution was all the youngest Suarez needed to literally jump at the chance for more trouble. Nicholas's eyes glittered like the sun-drenched water tempting him. Yeah, I want to go in the pool. Far less enthusiastically, Jorge joined the impromptu swim plan. Doesn't sound too bad. Yet the nonchalant way he shrugged over it seemed even more daring than Nicholas's open exhilaration. Let's do it. Before the third brother weighed in, Nicholas started to pull out his phone, the original match that lit a show burning fuse so much earlier in the day. Okay, that lit a show burning fuse, got it. That was it for Derek Suarez. His little brother might have been able to party harder than he could, but he didn't intend to be left that far behind. He wasn't so old after all. It's on! 3 phones, as well as wallets, keys, coins, and old receipts and wrappers, and a few stray puzzle pieces were fished out of piles and piled up for safekeeping. Why does he have puzzle pieces in his pockets? Your sister's belongings stayed within the warmth of her romper. She was once again the incredulous observer rather than a participant. This episode clearly entertained her more, though. Well, as the actual oldest sibling here, I'll supervise from up here. I'm on watch duty too, so don't try anything funny other than jumping into the pool fully dressed, of course. Thanks, Kingsley. Thanks, Liz. A teasing chorus cheered. Then they were off. Derek, Jorge, and Nicholas dashed in a straight row towards the edge and flew into the air without hesitation. 1, 2, 3. The brothers crashed through the water, disappearing into the explosion of white bubbles. But seconds later, their brunette heads with smiling faces popped out. Every Suarez brother celebrated with reckless abandon. Woo! Awesome! Yeah! Liz plotted her show from outside the splash zone. It was a wise choice, not only because of the obvious crossfire from the jump, but because Nicholas immediately started flinging water skyward. That offense wasn't taken floating down. The old water war was waged in another age. Smacking and splashing and defensive and offensive moves, and general merrymaking occurred in the depths of that summer day. When a truce was finally called, part of the peace talks included drying off before going home, and also the brothers clambered out of the pool. Jorge gratefully took a seat once more. After so much excitement, a metal chair was a welcome friend. You and Liz lounged by him. Even Derek and Nicholas gave the chairs a chance. We were a merry gang of 5, whiled away the best of the afternoon together. The lives you were leading were so different that there was never an end to new things to tell and hear. But eventually, it was unanimously agreed that it was time to bring the party back to the Suarez home. The kids ought to visit their poor old parents, as Liz put it. The pool that was almost abandoned much earlier was officially left empty. After a brief stroll, we made it back. It was nearly evening by then. Hey, welcome home. Did you enjoy the pool? She moved out of the way to let you all inside. Derek hesitated before bringing up the rear. It was hard to ignore that he was shyly scratching his cheek and keeping his head down now that you were inside. It was great, I'd say. Right, guys? Uh-huh, it was. Yeah. Good, I'm glad to hear that. Mr. Suarez gleefully made his way over when he realized your group was back. His eyebrow arched and you could feel the mischief coming. I told Mom you may not return as dry as you had left. He did say that. Darn, we found out. You laughed with them. Derek's still a kid. I'm gonna laugh. Ha 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 ha. Tipping your head back and a tear ran down your cheek. You couldn't believe Derek's dad had been betting on it. The next few hours passed by at a mere leisurely pace. Together, progress was made on a 1,000-piece puzzle. Oh my god, not 1,000 pieces. I don't have the attention span for that. At one point, Derek plucked one of the pieces from the I have no idea where this goes pile and tossed it at Nicholas to catch his attention. Without taking his eyes off the puzzle, Derek wondered out loud if he could take the Switch over to his place for the night. He had played it as if it was no big deal in the hopes that Nico would feel less pressure. Nicholas let out a deep sigh, but got up anyway. Just as Derek had always struggled to say no to him, Nicholas equally couldn't deny his big brother's request. He returned a few minutes later, holding the console with a tangled power cord and a couple of controllers piled on top. I'm guessing you wanted 2 controllers? That was exactly right. He knew Derek wasn't getting it for himself alone, but in order to experience it with you, looks like Derek never needed to buy an extra controller himself. Wow, thanks. Nicholas's gaze narrowed as he pulled everything closer to his chest. But before I hand this over, can we play a few rounds with the family? His eyes went wide and pleading. Instead of answering, Derek turned to you. His head tilted as he silently asked for your opinion. You nodded. We'd be staying here a little while longer then. That's fine with me. Cool. He shifted back to his little brother, game face on. I hope you're ready to lose, Nico. That's cute. Don't prepare your victory speech just yet, bro. Jorge, you're in too. It's not a choice. The tiny piece of cardboard on Jorge's hand dropped onto the kitchen counter at an unexpected enlistment. He blinked but then smiled. Fine. Yeah! Suarez family gathered around the TV and the brothers got the console set up. With a new battle sparked between the Suarez boys, you and Liz decided to give your moms a quick call. They were tickled to find out what happened with Liz's surprise trip. Between the four of you, it was decided that Liz would go down to Sunset Bird to see them in person soon, and you would stay in the city. Your trip was with the Suarez family, and there was the visit later in the summer that would center around your moms completely. After the call ended and you placed your phone back in your pocket, you had a new thought. Huh. What's that about? When are you leaving? I know you're here now, but you never told me for how long. Oh, I'm out of here tomorrow, technically. This is a very short trip. I say technically because my flight's at 11:59 p.m. Can you believe it? Sheesh, talk about a major inconvenience, but beggars can't be choosers. Derek? The brothers were absorbed in a game land where Liz nearly shouted that last part over her shoulder. It was loud and pointed enough that there was no way they could miss her teasing. Derek watched you ride your siblings over his shoulder. His cocky grin fell to a frown. Yeah, that's true. You're leaving tomorrow night. Both of you are. Derek tried to muster up another smile, but it was weak in comparison. He seemed smaller all of a sudden, squished in the center of a couch with a brother on each side. Then he shrugged. Things were starting to feel normal having you here, just in time for you to not be here anymore. Listen, if you're in love with me, just say so, we can make something work. Nicholas's chin lifted at his brother's crestfallen tone. His gaze bounced back and forth between you and Derek, but you found his expression to be difficult to read. Jorge, meanwhile, gave his big brother an understanding pat on the back. When he caught your attention, he nodded encouragingly. Without a doubt, you knew that you could rely on his family to be there to support him alongside you and to bring him cheer during the days you were gone. You were thankful for them. Well, I had a nerve. Sorry. Nah, let's forget about that. It's not tomorrow yet. You agreed, you felt a bit down about it. You were worried about Derek ignoring his own feelings. I'm worried about his feelings. You knew from the start tomorrow was going to be a tough day, but it was worse now that you got a glimpse of how it might impact Derek. You weren't sure how to explain it to him, that it was okay to be sad, and that it was okay to miss what made the trip special. The game had been paused ever since Derek stopped watching the screen, but the scene had as strong of an impact on Nicholas as it had on his favorite person. His brows furrowed tensely. That settles it. Nico breathed in deep through his nose, gathering his nerves, and pushed himself off his seat. He walked with a purpose away from his family and towards your sister. Hi, could you give us some privacy? Us youngest siblings need to talk. Liz's lips twitched, possibly with a bit of disagreement or a question, or even a snarky quip, but surprisingly she kept it in. Okay. Go easy on him. He might be their cherished little one, but Kingsley is mine. Yeah, sure, I hear you. He nonchalantly waved her off, and Liz gave you one last brief glance before yielding. Once she was gone, it was just you and Nicholas in that corner of the room. Actually, could we talk outside? Alright. His behavior so far had you stunned, but you followed him outside anyway. No one tried to follow, though you could feel every eye on your backs as you and Nicholas left. Standing in the street, Nico silently examined you with half-open eyes. Your mouth twisted awkwardly as you looked around. There was always a chance that Nicholas could surprise you. You had a good guess about what the conversation would be about. I don't have a single guess. Is it about Derek? Should I be worried you brought me somewhere without any witnesses? Nicholas's cheek puffed out in something like a pout, but he exhaled loudly instead. There's something I want you to know, so just listen. Do you remember that night you took Derek to some party thing at the club your family goes to? Yes. I do. What's your point? He said to simply listen, and then went straight to wanting answer. Nico was trying, though. He smiled nostalgically at the very mention of it. Yeah. That night was one of your fondest summer memories, though you didn't have a clue what Nicholas had to tell you about that party now. That might be wild to you, but believe it or not, that night left an impression on me too. Why? I was so upset that Derek bailed on the movie. We had to go without him, and then Mom and Dad wouldn't even let me stay up to see him get back. Okay. They tried every trick in their book to get me to go to sleep, but nothing worked. I just wanted him home. And then they never did get me to go to sleep. I blinked myself out by accident. I burned up whatever energy I still had that late by getting so upset. Nicholas chuckled at the memory. Oh my gosh. Rubbing the back of his neck, his eyes remained wistfully glazed for another moment. I couldn't understand why he wanted to go away all by himself. That didn't make any sense. Me, him, and Jorge. But at that age, we know I really meant me and Derek should stay together. That's when life was best, right? Silently nodding along, the detail didn't surprise you, but it also didn't stop the guilty feeling growing in your gut. You knew his 6-year-old self well, and the last thing you ever wanted was to hurt him. At some point, I did wake up, and I rushed out to see Derek, my big brother, my best friend. He hung out with me, exactly like I knew he would. I think Mom and Dad must have gone back to their room because I remember Derek being the one to put me in bed. He promised to tell me about all about what happened. It was great. A slight smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Nicholas gradually met your gaze, and then he crossed his arms. Is this a new route? No, we're still on Derek's route. We went to a party. I feel like you were there for that. I feel like you were there for, the soiree. This is not a new route. We cannot date Nicholas. He's 16. Nicholas is 16. He's a child. When he tucked me in, I was so happy that Derek was there and talking about the cool things he did. At the time, they were the biggest and most important adventures. I fell asleep perfectly content. But when I woke up the next day, I was sad all over again. And why are you telling me this? Where are you going? What is the point? It took a minute for my baby brain to realize that almost none of the story was about the fancy party or how he was the only one who got to go. It was about doing something with you. Okay. Your heartbeat was louder in your ears. You inconspicuously wiped your sweaty palms on the sides of your thighs. I couldn't have explained that to anybody, including Derek. I didn't have the words. All anyone knew was that poor little Nika was feeling down. Don't worry, I get it better now. Perspective, immaturity, and whatever. You glanced at the condo, and your chest ached. You had a good feeling that he was searching for Derek. He really liked you. That's what I realized, and that's what made me sad. You feel like we did this part already? Kinda, but like, not really. Not really. Derek's face when he looked at you now is the same as it was 10 years ago. When I was wrapped up in my blankie and he was dressed in his fancy clothes just talking about you. But it doesn't make me sad anymore. Nicholas's lingering melancholy melted in a warm laugh. And basically, Derek likes you. That's the point. A smile brightened your features. It was wonderful for Nico to share what he could see with his own 2 eyes. And even more amazing to know with certainty that it was the truth. Nicholas ruffled a hand through his hair in a manner much the same as Derek did. There was no surprise there. So why did you take me out of here to tell me this? Because did you know that I was doubting if he liked me? Because he didn't want to marry me? He didn't want to do our backup plan? You returned to the condo together with the matching conspiratorial smiles. By the way the room hushed as you walked through the door, you knew not a single soul was minding their own business. And despite everyone's best attempts at pretending to be busy, it was obvious that Liz and the Suarez family were all equally curious about what had happened outside. Everything okay over there? Should I be concerned? We're fine. Nicholas had cupped a hand next to his mouth to yell at your sister. As his brain caught up to his actions, he leaned towards you with a raised brow. We're all good, right? We were never not good, Nicholas. We're 2 peas in a pod. He joined his brothers and went back to Liz. After that talk, you felt a million times better about where you stood. Well, welcome back. I see you're still in one piece. Yeah, I'm even more whole. Aw, cute. Nicholas lifted his chin and flashed his siblings a determined grin. He cracked his knuckles. Okay, that's enough of the seriousness. Let's race. Yeah, let's race. Alright. Liz's brow raised as she watched the bizarre exchange. You slapped your fingers over your mouth to muffle your laughter at first, but couldn't leave your sister hanging, so you gently got her attention by pushing her arm. You're still talking about video games, a car game. Oh, that makes sense. She combed some stray strands of her hair behind her ear and watched the chaos commence. Well, there's no reason we should sit out now. Our jobs are done. The family, you and Liz included, ended up crammed shoulder to shoulder on the couches. Couches? There's only one couch. Where are we playing this game? I don't see a TV in sight. The family, you and Liz included, ended up crammed. Okay, yeah. Liz announced her intention of beating the brothers in a game she'd never played. Her enthusiasm for the gold win was as powerful as ever. You hoped the condo would survive the competition. And I'll play too, why not? There was nothing like a good racing game to get the blood pumping. I suck at racing games. Your fingers were already fidgeting in anticipation. She needed a controller as soon as possible. Count me in for this. Since there was only so many controllers, it was decided that everyone would take turns, starting from the youngest to the oldest. Nicholas faked humility as he accepted his position as first. The races began and the room bounced with wild cheers and shouts. Even Mrs. Suarez jumped in line for a race. She was a welcome addition to the event. Mr. Suarez, on the other hand, had a history of gaming offenses. We know Mr. Suarez is a cheater. He's a cheater, he's a cheater, he's a cheater. He was watched like a hawk by the other participants to make sure he didn't pull any funny business. But it was to no avail. Just before the top three were decided, the race was intensely neck and neck. Mr. Suarez managed to jump Jorge from behind with his foot and destabilized his son's driving. Oh my gosh. What is wrong with this man? Not one person actually saw him do it in the heat of the moment, but there was no debate on who the kicker was, no matter how much Mr. Suarez pleaded his innocence. The fact that his insistence was threaded with laughter didn't help his case. The rest of the rounds went off with less cheating, though weren't any less memorable. Eventually, enough of the day passed that Liz rose to her feet. It's getting late. My ride back to Sunset Bird should be coming soon. I'm gonna give my legs a chance to stretch and wait outside. She flashed you a weak smile and then double-checked, oh my gosh. Double-checked that she had all of the things with her together. Yep. Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone. Before she could make her exit, Derek sprung up as well. Wait, Kings and I should get going too. You don't have to leave by yourself. What a gentleman. At that, Nicholas and Jorge finally stopped what they were doing and turned to their big brother. Both of them wore identical frowns. Derek glanced away from Liz towards the growing audience. Sorry, we'll see you again tomorrow. Will we? Will we? Double cheeked up on what it said. Yeah, I said double cheeked. I don't know. My eyes. I've been reading for so long now. My eyes were playing tricks on me. He sheepishly scratched the back of his neck while his brothers continued to stare pitiably. Hey, I've got an idea. Why don't you come over to my place for a change? Mom and Dad are welcome, obviously. You too, Liz. Let's do it tomorrow. Bro. Time to end stream. We about to. We about to. Not like right now. We got like 30-ish minutes before I end stream. And then tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Friday, we were going to finish this game. We were finishing this game Friday. The idea was met by surprise, but the room shifted positively. Getting to Derek's place was more unanimously agreed on than even Mr. Suarez being a cheater. A new plan made, the group said goodbye for now. You and Derek accompanied Liz out. Though halfway, Derek paused and remembered to barrel back inside. He almost forgot to take the consoles home with him again. Perfect timing or not, Derek wasn't letting it slip through his fingers. He returned in record time, as if he joined an actual race. Together, you hung outside with Liz until she was safely on her way home. It was still mind-blowing that you didn't have to center your life around a bus or a shuttle schedule anymore. By the time Liz's ride was out of sight, the sun was hanging low in the sky. It would be dark soon. You hopped into Derek's car and flopped into the front seat. You were ready to settle down for the day. Derek carefully stored the console cords and 2 controllers in the back seat before taking his spot behind the wheel. As soon as Derek pulled the door shut, he slapped his fingers on the steering wheel. Woo! I've been waiting forever to try that new game. Well, it's not that new. It's already a few years old, but you know what I mean. You're adorable. When we're just playing games, you match his eagerness. You know what? You're adorable. There was no stopping your tiny smile. It's so cute when you're excited. You light up. Huh? He hung onto the steering wheel for dear life. Alright, I'll take your word for it, but from where I'm sitting, there's definitely someone cuter. Okay. Okay. Derek eagerly turned the key and the engine roared to life. Within seconds, you were cruising down the road again. I'm glad you and your brothers got to open up to each other. You caught Derek off guard. I need to read the other options. They weren't important. Me and Liz are not that important. You caught Derek off guard with that. His eyes widened before his whole expression softened. Me too. It was a good reminder. Just because we know that we love each other doesn't mean we can take it for granted. You'll never know what's going on unless you try to see it. Yeah, it takes effort to keep a relationship alive. The rest of the ride passed by in comfortable silence, and soon enough you were standing at his apartment door. Derek pushed it open and motioned for you to go in first. Carrying the console and his various wires under his arm, Derek trailed behind you and casually gestured towards the living room. Take it easy and relax. I'll get this bad boy set up. Okay, sure. You kicked your shoes off and flopped into the couch. Derek chuckled as he sat cross-legged on the floor and began tangling the cords. I don't know how they do it. These were tangle-free getting into the car, and I swear they were getting out. How did it happen? That's a great fucking question. How did they get fucking tangled? Because you've been making them all nice, then they get tangled. I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? Maybe they got nervous visiting a new house. You could say tied into knots. What a lame-ass joke. You can boo me for that, Derek. You can boo me for that. Derek stopped what he was doing. His nose wrinkled, and then he let out a loud laugh. You might be right about that. Once the console was all ready, Derek declared something was missing. Luckily, it wasn't on one of the cords. That was covered. Is it food? Is it a little snack? I'm gonna put all my pajamas on. I'm gonna put my pajamas on. We can't have a late night game session in regular clothes. I mean, you could. You could. Oh yeah, I'll change too. You don't think it was that bad? I thought that was terrible. I thought it was a terrible joke. Awesome, let's regroup in 5. With a deadline set, you both scrambled down the hall and into your own rooms. A few minutes later, you returned to about the same spot where you'd come in, but clad in much cozier outfits. Aw, his little outfit. Is that dice? These dice on his pajamas? That's gonna be a record. Now we're set. Derek retrieved the game you got at the mall. The case had been waiting patiently on the coffee table for a while. There's a versus mode and team mode with this party game. What are you in the mood for? I love me, I want to work together. We're a good team. Derek flipped over the game case and read the back again. You noticed the tips of his ears were a shade redder than usual. Yeah, we are. You threw up a high five that Derek enthusiastically met with a loud slap. He picked up a controller and shot you a wink. Is this all we're gonna do? Play games? I mean, I guess. Did we even eat dinner? We had breakfast. That's all I remember eating. Are we not hungry? Where are the snacks? Get the snacks out. Derek put the game in, hovered by the console until he was satisfied that things were booting up correctly. He then relocated to the couch across from the TV and plopped down in the center. Sit next to him. The motion tilted him slightly on the cushion. Your dramatic arrival sent him into a fit of laughter. Derek's cheeks were flushed as he wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. It wasn't that funny. Hi, Kingsley. Hey. You were close enough that your leg brushed against his while you got comfortable. Even after putting a few inches between you both, your shoulders occasionally bumped. Not gonna lie, you kind of tuned out during the luncheon and you heard me during the Nicholas convo again. That's okay. That's okay. As long as you're here in spirit. As long as you're here in spirit, that's okay. Derek's welcoming smile brought a warmth to you. Or maybe it was your hyper-awareness of his body heat radiating through your side. Either way, it was getting hotter. And on that note, your digital adventure began. Hours rapidly went by from there. I'm doing just fine. I feel like I'm doing good. Sometimes you got stuck, but there wasn't anything you two couldn't eventually solve. You had to rely on each other. Derek was no expert himself. Luckily, your abilities complemented his faults and vice versa. Your throat was sore from the highs of making each other laugh and from the lows of shouting out of frustration at the TV. The game was still in full swing when suddenly Derek spoke up. Not for further commentary on your digital movies, but for real-life considerations. Did you want any snacks? Yes, I want snacks. What kind of host are you? You gotta offer the snacks. Out of habit, you glanced in his direction. He had his sight locked on the TV screen, even still. I can't keep putting my stomach off. Could you hold down the fort while I'm gone? Before you could even answer, Derek was already out of his seat and dashing towards the kitchen. I'm on it. I can bring something for you too. I'll have whatever. I don't know what he's having. I'm not gonna say I'll have whatever he's having. I want what I picked out. Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. From the repeated clatter of cupboard doors, you knew he was checking every cabinet for the best treats. Your stomach began rumbling in anticipation. Derek returned and his arms were filled with all kinds of goodies you'd picked up at your grocery trip, and a couple you hadn't seen before. They must have been tucked away for a special occasion before you arrived. He quickly placed 2 water bottles down and then dumped the rest onto the coffee table. Behold! Derek flopped back down onto the couch and did a double take at the table. You already managed to swipe a handful of things. Ready to jump back in? The TV's changing brightness as the game resumed. From the dim pause menu was noticeable. Squinting, you listened to the familiar music flowing through the speakers until your eyes adjusted. Though it wasn't long before the game managed to suck you in once again. As the game accelerated into its most important moments, neither you nor Derek could be contained by your own seats. You kept pushing and pressing into each other on the couch. Oh? Okay. Not in the way that I was hoping, but we got something there. The night slipped by joyously. At one point, you took turns watching the other work through some single-player content. Despite Derek's usual position as the reasonable one, you unknowingly stayed up gaming late into the night. Gradually, your eyelids drooped. Your laughter was replaced by yawns, and your voices grew softer until they were whispers floating slowly into cotton-filled ears. The last thing you heard was the melody of the game's music still playing, but sounding so far away. You returned to the awareness slowly. Your eyes were still heavy, and you rubbed at them. Crushed into a cushion, you were exactly where you started your virtual exploits last night, on an off-white couch with Derek. Oh? Oh? Wait, nothing happened, but still. Your head was on one end while his was at the opposite. Derek's legs were awkwardly tucked underneath your arm and lower back. It couldn't have been comfortable for him either. Instead of collapsing to the floor, you'd fallen over each other. Despite your blurry vision, you could make out his apologetic smile. Derek was already awake. He let out a low chuckle, one with far more life in it than anyone who had been unconscious would have had. Sorry, I didn't want to risk waking you by moving. We kind of been stuck like this for a while. Good-humoredly, he winked. Having a sleepover in the living room as grown-ups definitely has one perk over doing it as kids. And what's that perk? Say the perk. What's the perk? So said perk was interrupted by the sound of ringing phone. Derek's eyes widened in an instant and shifted to reach his phone on the coffee table. He checked the caller ID and a disbelieving smirk crossed his face. His voice was a whisper. No way. You couldn't guess whose a mere call would get that reaction. Is it Cove? He slid his finger across the screen and tapped the speaker button. Casually, he leaned back into the couch and stretched out an arm. From the fond twist of his lips, you knew this at least had to be someone close to him. Hey, Nico. Oh, okay. Morning, bro. Why are you calling? Nico, you're calling so early. Kingsley, you're actually the one I wanted to talk to. I just called Derek so I wouldn't bother you if you were still sleeping. Damn. Oh? And I don't need my sleep? No, you're a machine, bro. Dude, you're the most morning-y person to ever have early rose. Nicholas Suarez really did not know Cove Holden. That was one competition Cove took the gold in every time. You get up so early a night owl could give you a high five on their way to bed. You'll hit the gym before. The sudden stand-up routine broadcast to Derek's living room was cut off prematurely. Nico definitely could have kept going. Okay, we heard you the first time. Hey, you asked for it. Derek pointed a judgmental finger toward the phone. The only thing he said was quietly to you. This kid. He lifted his voice up to not let the conversation drag. So, what's up? What do you think? Kingsley's leaving soon, isn't he? So, when will you be coming over to see me? Now? Soon? Derek theatrically rolled his eyes, inwardly laughing at Nicholas's eagerness. We've got to talk about it. And I mean me and Kingsley, not me and you. Kingsley is here already. Sorry, Nico, you're gonna have to share. We'll sort it out, and I'll let you know. Alright, see you later. Yeah, I promise. Bye, I'll definitely see you. Take care. We'll definitely see you. Bye, Kingsley. When did he become a fan of me? I kind of love it, though. I kind of love the attention. Derek pressed the red button on his phone screen and ended the call. Nico's gesture really was sweet. It might have been years since you last babysat him, but you still had a special attachment for him that you didn't have any other teen. That you didn't have for any other teen. Derek let out another long sigh, still holding the phone in the air. He looked up at the device as if it was a magic wand. I should have figured. Derek, what were you gonna say before he called? Derek shook his head with a wry smile. I was about to say that with my own place, we didn't have to worry about little brothers interrupting our peaceful morning together. Oh, okay, that was it. Technology has proven me wrong. You snorted. Nicholas didn't ever need to call a psychic. The timing was prophetic. Speak of the devil, right? He must have called as soon as he dragged himself out of bed. Typical Nico. He shrugged a single shoulder and then reached down to place his phone on the table again. We can still take it easy, though. You should take it as easy as possible before a stressful trip. He carefully disentangled himself from you and got to his feet. You flopped down on the couch as he slipped out, suddenly blessed with more space. You pushed yourself up and settled into a sitting position. I'm gonna take a shower and everything. Then we should have breakfast. You finally left the mild comfort of the couch, shaking off the remaining sleepiness. Go for it! Wash that hair. I have to get ready too. See you soon. With that, he headed off to the back of the apartment. You skipped to your room to begin your normal morning routine after a particularly not normal start to the day. Derek's insistence on playing in pajamas had certainly worked out in ways you hadn't foreseen. Maybe he had an inkling of it. With the two game-loving brothers, it was possible he had practiced dozing off on the controller before. While changing your wrinkled clothes, your phone buzzed with a text from your sister. Liz was giving you the heads up that she was going to pop in to see some friends in the afternoon while she had the chance, but she'd be there to see you off before the end of the day. You typed a quick message letting her know that was cool and sent it. When you finished your morning ritual, you returned out to the main area of the apartment. Finished with his own daily prep, Derek had made his way back to the couch. He couldn't stay away for long. Welcome back. Thank you. Hunger had become a third wheel to your party by the point you got to work to send it on its way. You and Derek threw something together and had a relaxed meal. It was all good. The two of you could pretend that this wasn't the last time you'd be waking up together for who knew how long. Oh, Liz texted while you were gone. She's gonna see us after she does some friend stuff. It'll be in the evening, probably. You nodded along, not looking shocked. Liz grew up in the area, too. She had plenty of roots to water in that land. Speaking of people to see, my family's coming over here today, and so is Liz. But we've gotta ask your mom still. They're gonna want to say bye, I bet. Right. Thanks for letting them visit. I'll text them. Of course. It's gonna be so cool to open my own place to the grown-ups after being their guest a million times. I love having you here with me. It's like we're living together, for real, permanently, as if you weren't just a guest. Too bad it's gotta end. All morning he appeared giddy, excited by your presence. The light still shone through, but averting your eyes from reality wasn't a foolproof strategy. He accidentally broke the illusion. He pressed his lips together tight, and his brows pulled in tensely. Today's gotta be big. It's the last chance. We should do something you couldn't do anywhere else. You brace yourself for the coming conclusion and then smile. You have the best ideas. Yes, let's do it. Now, how to end this trip on a bang? The last chance. Those three words came back softly, a more fragile echo of the original, yet they held on even more weight. Well, you paused to take in a deep, intentional breath, then he plainly offered a suggestion. We could go to the boardwalk. It's even further away than the water park, and we'd probably have to leave after only an hour, but we can make it if you want to. What do you think? Derek's normally clear eyes were clouded with emotion. The boardwalk was a special place to him. Sure. You weren't about to argue with that face expression. Yes, let's do it. He was halfway to jump into his feet before he realized where he was. As soon as we finished our food, obviously. That did not seem obvious to Derek until a second ago. We could eat on the road. Oh, alright. You let your anticipation carry you through the snarfing bits of food while bottling up anything portable. Dishes hit the sink and Derek waved off, washing them waved off washing them for now for a change. You raided one of his cabinets for granola, and you pointed out some other snacks to take. All in all, you were ready and out the door in 7 minutes. And with that, I'm gonna save the game, and we're going to end. It's like 10 minutes. It's like 10 minutes to 5. Who knows when Gil will be home? So I am ending the game. Am I back? So I will be streaming next on Friday at 1. We didn't finish this game. I was hoping we would finish it, but we didn't. And I'm gonna end it. But I will be back Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're gonna finish this. And if we finish it within like a good amount of time, we may play Stardew Valley. We may. But if we don't, that's okay. Stardew's always an option for other times that I stream. But other than that, I will appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for being beautiful. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year, and life. And I do